imagine myself without a cigarette. I was like up to 2 packs a day.
1-800-QUIT now.
I just decided to call and see what it was about and see how they could help. They're there for you. I got stressed out and I picked up a cigarette, so I called the counselor and they told me that, it happens. Sometimes it takes a few tries. Nobody's perfect. Even if you quit, they're still there if you need them. If you're really serious about quitting, call.
Call 1-800-QUIT now, a public service of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and this station.
Global warming is here. The effects may seem slight now,
but in a few decades, they could be massive. Heat waves, floods, and food shortages. What can we do? We can join together. Because when many unite as one,
we can achieve anything.
Game Day on 91.5 FM WLUR Lexington.
This is Generals Game Day. Hi, hello, and welcome to the broadcast. Alongside Neil Schaefer, Jeremy Franklin, and Jim Plantholt, I am Andy McEnroe as we get set for Game 2 of the 2008 season between the Washington Lee Generals and the Suwannee Tigers. Both teams are 1-0 after their season opener wins. Washington and Lee defeated Dickinson in overtime by the score of 16-10, while Suwannee knocked off Kenyon on the road by a score of 43-10. As I welcome in Neil Schaefer, Jeremy Franklin, and Jim Plantholt, last week was not the game that we all expected on Generals Game Day. The Generals struggled on offense and really felt like they were stuck in neutral, Jeremy, for much of the day. But it was Josh Brees late who scored both the overtime touchdown and the lone touchdown for the Generals in regulation that ultimately propelled them to victory.
Yeah, the offense got the points when the Generals needed them. But what about the performance of the Washington and Lee defense? Garrett LaRose, I had a chance to talk to him, and we'll hear that conversation later on. One of the best games on the stop side that we've seen from the Generals in many years, and Coach LaRose is going to its opening possession, and after that, the Generals held them to a field goal, even though the offense and a couple of special teams miscues put the Red Devils on a short field time after time. So the defense was terrific throughout, and then Josh Brees found a way to get it done for the Generals, including that game-winning touchdown in overtime.
The Generals' defense was absolutely outstanding, only allowing 49 yards on the final 6 possessions for the Red Devils. And as you mentioned, Jeremy, essentially shut down Dickinson time and time again, despite some very difficult field position for the blue and white defense. Will Corey, the linebacker, the junior for the Generals, with an outstanding game, as he certainly stepped up, filling an area that we expected would be problematic for the blue and white after graduating their 5 leading tacklers from a year. So we're starting to make progress. Let's hang on. I gotta. What's up? Let me.
I couldn't even imagine myself without a cigarette. I was like up to 2 packs a day.
1-800-QUIT now.
I just decided to call and see what it was about and see how they could help. They're there for you. I got stressed out and I picked up a cigarette, so I called the counselor and they told me that, it happens. Sometimes it takes a few tries. Nobody's perfect. Even if you quit, they're still there if you need them. If you're really serious about quitting, call.
Call 1-800-QUIT now, a public service of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and this station.
Hi, hello, and welcome to our pregame coverage of Washington and Lee versus Suwannee. Due to some technical difficulties, we are joining Generals Game Day already in progress.
Get ready, because here comes Generals Game Day on 91.5 FM WLUR Lexington.
This is Generals Game Day. Hi, hello, and welcome to the broadcast. Alongside Neil Schaefer, Jeremy Franklin, and Jim Plantholt, I am Andy McEnroe as we get set for Game 2 of the 2008 season between the Washington and Lee Generals and the Suwannee Tigers. Both teams are 1-0 after their season opener wins. Washington and Lee defeated Dickinson in overtime by the score of 16-10. While Suwannee knocked off Kenyon on the road by a score of 43-10. As I welcome in Neil Schaefer, Jeremy Franklin, and Jim Plantholt, last week was not the game that we all expected on Generals Game Day. The Generals struggled on offense and really felt like they were stuck in neutral, Jeremy, for much of the day. But it was Josh Brees late who scored both the overtime touchdown and the lone touchdown for the Generals in regulation that ultimately propelled them to victory.
Yeah, the offense got the points when the Generals needed them. But what about the performance of the Washington and Lee defense? Garrett LaRose, I had a chance to talk to him, and we'll hear that conversation later on. One of the best games on the stop side that we've seen from the Generals in many years, and Coach LaRose is going to echo that sentiment. Dickinson scored on its opening possession, and after that, the Generals held them to a field goal, even though the offense and a couple of special teams miscues put the Red Devils on a short field time after time. So the defense was terrific throughout, and then Josh Brees found a way to get it done for the Generals, including that game-winning touchdown in overtime.
The Generals' defense was absolutely outstanding, only allowing 49 yards on the final 6 possessions for the Red Devils. And as you mentioned, Jeremy, essentially shut down Dickinson time and time again, despite some very difficult field position for the blue and white defense. Will Corey, the linebacker, the junior for the Generals, with an outstanding game, as he certainly stepped up, filling an area that we expected would be problematic for the blue and white after graduating their 5 leading tacklers from a year ago. And certainly, an area where Washington and Lee looks to continue to improve with this contest this week against Suwannee.
Yeah, no doubt. To have one of your best defensive players come from the linebacking core, given what the Generals lost due to graduation, including an All-American back there in Max Garrett. But Will was one of several guys who made play after play and came up big for the Generals defense.
Yeah, Sam Murphy was the leading tackler with 8 tackles a week ago, who played valiant inside as well. But of course, the front line for Washington and Lee put pressure on Dickinson, slowed down their rushing attack last week, and certainly helped Washington and Lee stay in the game, Neil, despite an offense that seemed like it was going through some growing pains, whether that's a young coaching staff or whether it's players readjusting to new positions, given that we saw some young slot backs in the game, in particular Josh McDonald and Montgomery Owen seeing a bulk of the snaps last week against the Red Devils. But once head coach Garrett LaRose and offensive coordinator Bobby Jones seemed to get into gear in the second half, the offense began to move at a more regular pace.
Yeah, and before we get to the offense, I just want to touch one point on the defense and applauding the linebackers, but that also reflects so well on the defensive line. If your linebackers are leading the team in tackles, then that means the defensive line is doing their job, freeing up the space for the linebackers to really roam and attack. But you're right, Andy. I mean, these new coaches, experienced maybe at WNL, but new to running the team. Probably figuring out exactly what they had as far as game management is concerned. But they knew they had running backs over the years, and we see many teams at many levels of football succeed with kind of a committee of running backs. I think it is incredibly helpful for the Generals or any team to have a true number one receiver they can commit to, because sometimes things just don't go quite as planned with the offensive game plan. And so when you have a guy as reliable as Josh Brees, who can get his 26 carries, get his yards, and score touchdowns when they're needed, I think that's incredibly valuable. Valuable for a team like the Generals, who rely so much on their running game.
Well, pivoting to the matchup here at play today, where Washington and Lee will take on Suwannee for the 67th time, and the Generals are holding a 43-23 advantage in the all-time series that began during the 1892 season. W&L has won 12 of the last 13 meetings, including a 63-30 win last season in Lexington, and the home team has had a decided advantage in the history of this series. But W&L, of course, has been dominant of late, winning 7 of the last 9 contests. In fact, the last time Washington and Lee went to Suwannee was in 2016. The Generals with 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, Jeremy, to win that contest 21-17 after a very sluggish start that saw Suwannee on top throughout the majority of the game until the Generals came steamrolling back.
Yeah, it was a wild finish for Washington and Lee. If you look at the recent history of the series, yes, the Generals have won 12 of the last 13, but look at the scores in Lexington and then look at the scores in Suwannee. Last year in Lexington, it was 63-30, and it wasn't even that close. The Generals had their way with the Tigers, but 2 years ago, you just mentioned that great comeback to squeak out a victory, and that's par for the course in the last 8, 9, 10 meetings, that even though Washington and Lee has won almost every game against Suwannee, they've rolled in a lot of the games at Wilson Field and struggled to pull out the victory down in Suwannee. It's a long bus ride. You change time zones for some inexplicable reason to me. You drive through Alabama to get from Virginia to a place in Tennessee, so that always impacts your legs, even though you're going to make the trip the day before the game. And Suwannee is in a similar position to Dickinson. You have a second-year head coach, so Travis Rundle and his staff have had that season under their belts. They know that what they want in terms of the direction of the program. And they're coming off a great win over Kenyon. Not a strong program necessarily, but 43-10. And 2-3 years ago, Sewanee's not beating anybody 43-10. So this is going to be another tough test for the Generals on the road.
Suwannee, as Jeremy mentioned, with a coaching staff in their second year. In their first year, they went 3-7 overall, 2-6 in the SAA conference. But as Jeremy alluded to, a good win last week by the score of 43-10. The Suwannee offense put up a total of 435 yards. And more impressively, Neil, forced 4 turnovers on defense, 1 interception, 3 fumbles, and got 2 touchdowns off of those 4 turnovers. So certainly, once again, defense will be a factor in this contest.
And the turnovers are the reason it was a 33-point margin. I mean, their offense was good, but it wasn't so good to imagine that 33-point victory. The Generals are going to have to be careful with the ball. You know, they, in previous last couple seasons, some of their mistakes, untimely turnovers, maybe untimely inability to stop teams have kind of cost them games. You know, they went to overtime in the tight game against Dickinson. They pulled it out. They're going to have to be careful here and make sure that they limit their mistakes, or if they do mistakes, that they don't come back to haunt them. It's going to be hard to take a lot from, scouting this Suwannee-Kenyon game, though, given Kenyon's relative weakness as a program. But I'm sure the coaching staff will have something to work with looking at the film.
Well, a couple key players to keep your eye on as we get set for Suwannee and Washington and Lee coming your way at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central, is junior quarterback Alex Daris, the transfer from Furman. Certainly a dual-threat quarterback, is coming off an ACL injury, but last week 20 of 35 for 252 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also carried the ball 11 times for 50 yards. He's a threat for Suwannee's offense. And then junior running back Warren Holland had 102 yards and 1 touchdown on 20 carries. He was also one of their leading receivers last week. So a threat out of the backfield, Jim, and a good quarterback in the junior for the Tigers.
Well, you mentioned the two hottest offensive players for this Sewanee team, but you can't talk about their offense last week and not say that they hit 10 different receivers on the field. So Alex Darris was hitting about every receiver that was stepping on the field, and that makes it tough to defend. This Generals defense is going to have to find a way to minimize at least some of the weapons and the way that the Sewanee team can get the ball around. But you cannot forget that this Sewanee team only allowed 10 points up on the board there on the road for the first game of the year. And their defense was led by their senior linebacker, Lee Menifee, and he paced the defense with 9 tackles. But you can't forget their outside, the defensive lineman in Matlock, who had a sack and a half. So they're going to bring the defense here, and the Generals are going to have to stay on their toes up front.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up JoJo Matlock. 1, it's a great football name. 2, described in the D3Football.com season preview as a wrecking ball at defensive end. And certainly, Neil, that can cause havoc for an option offense like the Generals. And of course, Lee Menifee that Jim brought up, first team all SAA last year, 95 tackles in 2017, complemented by Piero Johnson, who had 74 tackles in 2017. So an improving defense, a defense that has matured from their 2017 season. And as we saw with Dickinson, a team that starts to come into their own could pose problems, Neil, for the Generals, who are still looking to find their way here early in 2018.
You mentioned the great JoJo Matlock, who's 6'1", 230, may not be big for a defensive end, but at that size can probably run with a team like the Generals, can probably move laterally pretty well. And the Generals are going to have to be really careful to really seal off the edges of that defensive line so that their running backs can turn the corner. Matlock's going to make it difficult for them. And so the extra blocking they might get is going to be necessary to get those yards that the Generals need to set the tone for their offense and the game.
Well, it's time we move away for the gridiron for a little bit. We'll be back to talk about this game in more detail a little bit later on Generals Game Day. And of course, you are listening to Generals Game Day on 91.5 FM WLUR Lexington. And as we talked about last week, we do want to take a moment to preview other Washington and Lee sports. Last week in part 1 of the WNL Fall Sports Preview, we talked about football, of course, but also volleyball and field hockey. This week, we pivot to men's and women's soccer and men's and women's cross country. And we thought we'd mix it up a little bit this week. You know, we noticed that Jeremy Franklin needed to break a sweat here in the preseason, as he's going to be calling a lot of matches on the pitch as well as on the WNL turf field for field hockey, and of course in the Duchess Waugh Tennis Center, which is still a foreign language for me to say for volleyball, with their high ceilings, of course. And so in order to get Jeremy in shape, we're going to go kind of around the water cooler and have him sprint from Neil to Jim to me as we talk men's soccer, women's soccer, and then cross country.
Jeremy, men's soccer has established themselves as a premier national program over the last few years. They won the ODAC championship 3 years ago, ODAC runners-up the last 2 years, and they are currently pegged to be number 2 in the ODAC this season, with Lynchburg topping the ODAC poll, Washington Lee second, and then Roanoke College just behind at number 3. Do you think the preseason polls are what we should expect to see come the end of the season, or are there any surprises here?
I think another team to watch out for is going to be Randolph-Macon. They actually have had some success against Washington and Lee, beat them during the regular season last year. That program has improved. But I think it is the usual suspects. Lynchburg and WNL have played in the ODAC championship each of the past 2 years, and the Generals have gotten at-large bids to the NCAA tournament despite losing to the Hornets in the conference final both years. They made it to the round of 16 a season ago before losing to an eventual Final Four team in North Park. And of course, Roanoke with the soccer tradition. So I would imagine those are going to be the top contenders for the conference title again this year.
And this is a deep conference. You know, it's not necessarily just those top 3, but 8 of the 12 conference teams were at least 500 last year. Pretty impressive. The 2017 Generals went 15-5-2 with an impressive .93 goals allowed average. But Jeremy, they lose some key players from last year's squad. Senior goalkeeper Gillen Beck has graduated, as are senior defender Sterling Kirk, senior midfielder Kevin Molnar, senior midfielder Andrew Kim. How did they replace these key cogs in what was a tremendous team and also a really strong, stout defense?
Well, obviously the toughest one is Gillen Beck. You got a 3-year starter in goal who was an all-conference and all-region performer. Not to take anything away from Kirk and Molnar and Kim. They're great players, but the Generals are deep at their positions, whether it's Sterling Kirk at fullback or Andrew Kim as a winger, Kevin Molnar is more of a holding central midfielder. So the big one is in goal. Alex Harper has been the number 2 behind Gillen Beck. There were a lot of goals allowed by the Generals this past weekend, but I think that may reflect more the level of competition. They had a rematch of an NCAA tournament game against Oglethorpe. They won 3-2 and then lost a wild game to a top 10 team, a true road game to Emory, 5-4 in overtime when they had a 3-1 lead at halftime. So I think the defense will come along, but there's no question that the Generals have so much talent up and down the field. If they have to outscore an opponent, they can, and that'll take some pressure off the defense early in the season as they try to replace Beck.
And I was going to ask you about those 2 road games, the 2 games against the Atlanta colleges. High-scoring games, 1-1, but both opponents that the Generals saw last year in various stages of their season, defeating Oglethorpe in the NCAA tournament and then beating Emory in Lexington last year. As you said, the defense should come around. Can't read too much into these early season results. Jeremy, I'll leave with this one last question here. This was a summer. This was a year of wonderful soccer. We saw the tremendous World Cup. There's ever-growing interest in the Bundesliga, the Premier League, La Liga, you name it, in the United States. So for Americans, Generals fans, let's say, who want to grow their love of the beautiful game, what British Premier League team do you think most matches the Generals? Who should Generals fans latch onto for not only this Premier League campaign, but really forever, because they need to invest in this beautiful game?
Sure. That's a tough question. The Generals play with a lot of pace. They play with a lot of tempo. It's an up and down style of match. So I'm trying to think of who that might most resemble in the Premier League.
I'll toss one out for you, Jeremy. They are a Southern team, a team that may not have a huge history of soccer, but has proven themselves to really be contenders in the last few years. An up-and-coming team, in my opinion, maybe looking at a top 10 finish this year. What about mighty Bournemouth down on the south coast of England?
They're a fun team to watch. They get results, and they made a quick sprint, I want to say, from League Two to the Premier League in just a few years under Eddie Howe, who's done such a great job managing Bournemouth. I would say it's an interesting comparison for me because Bournemouth are not one of the most talented teams in the Premier League. They play well as a team. The Generals are one of the most talented squads in the ODAC, and that's why we've seen the success from Washington and Lee. 3 straight NCAA tournament appearances. And I know the senior class, which is the first class that Mike Singleton brought in as the head coach, they want to end their careers. They want to bookend their careers with ODAC championships after they won his first years in 2015.
Go over right now for you, keeping the fast pace going here, Jeremy, talking about the women's pitch and looking at the women's soccer team coming up this fall season. We all know Coach Neil Cunningham has been around for quite a few years now, and with that team, he's had a lot of success. Last year, stumbled a little bit in the ODAC quarterfinals, losing to Bridgewater 2-1. What are the Lady Generals looking to build off of last year and that somewhat disappointing end to the season?
Yeah, it's disappointing just because of the high standards that you mentioned, Jim, for the Washington and Lee program. And the year before that, they won the ODAC title and went to the NCAA tournament in 2016. They've got a lot of players returning, some great leadership from quartet of captains, seniors Megan England, who's a past ODAC Player of the Year. She won the award 2 years ago. And Danielle Spickard, Emily Roche, and Caroline Coppinger, junior captains for this team. I think the biggest thing that the Generals have done is added a very talented young goalkeeper, Grace Coombs, who made 12 saves in a 1-1 draw against number 11 Carnegie Mellon last Saturday, just the second game of her collegiate career. At times, that was a weakness for Washington in the league last season. The goalkeeping position was not as strong as we're maybe accustomed to see for the Generals. So to have that kind of caliber player back there, it's only going to make the rest of the team play better.
You mentioned a couple things, Jeremy, that I certainly want to hit on here. And first, I want to talk about what they've done so far this year in the Barton Cup, having some pretty tough competition with number 6 Johns Hopkins, and then taking on the host team Carnegie Mellon at number 11, as you said, pulling out that draw 1-1 in 2 overtimes. What are we taking away from that tournament up there as the Generals start their regular season, if you will?
Well, certainly they've got a great young goalie. What I mentioned with Grace Coombs having such a big game, so the Generals could get that point, could get that result against the Tartans of Carnegie Mellon. I talked to Neil Cunningham in preparation for our broadcast this week, and the Generals currently in action right now, finishing up their home opener against Franklin and Marshall, and they play Salisbury at home at 2:30 on Sunday afternoon. But that was a test for his team, a measuring stick to go up and play two teams in the top 15, including that true road game against Carnegie Mellon. It would have been awesome to see the Generals get 2 wins, but this is more of where are we at the beginning of the season versus where we want to be in November when you're trying to win another ODAC title against, say, a Lynchburg or a Virginia Wesleyan.
Absolutely. And, we keep talking about that Carnegie Mellon game there. That goal was given up in the 83rd minute off of a penalty kick coming from a handball inside the box. And there's really not much you can do with that. An amazing game in that tournament from Grace Coombs. Looking at the seniors on this team, I know it is one of the focus points of the Generals offense. You mentioned a couple of the ladies there. Besides Caroline Peters, who scored one of the goals, and Danielle Spickard, who else are we looking to be the main goal scorers for this Generals team?
Well, you go back to Megan England, who I mentioned briefly earlier, a senior captain. She was the ODAC Player of the Year as a sophomore in 2016. She has 27 goals and 52 career appearances. Even though she didn't win the Player of the Year award again last year, she still scored 12 goals for Washington and Lee. So a proven scorer. Going to see some young players at the number 9 at the forward position. Sydney von Rosenberg, a sophomore, is starting there, and they're actually playing one of the members of the first-year class, Emily Letting, going to get a good amount of time at forward as well. But to have a player like Megan England right behind the number 9, to have a Caroline Peters, who's such a terrific playmaker on the wing for Washington and Lee, it's going to take a little bit of the pressure off of those young players who are at the actual forward position.
Now, sorry, Jeremy, as we're looking at the rest of the season here, I know you don't want to look too far in the future past the next game, but there's 3 games that I have circled on the calendar, and I'm sure you do as well. First, coming up on the 29th of this month, the revenge game against Bridgewater to take on the team that defeated you in the ODAC tournament the year prior. Has got to mean something, especially for the seniors on this team. I also look for October 13th and October 17th. You mentioned Virginia Wesleyan and Lynchburg, respectively, there. Are there any other games that you're looking forward to, or are these the 3 big games left in the season before, of course, we hit ODAC postseason?
Those are certainly 3 consequential games within the ODAC, and the conference schedulers did not do the Generals many favors to have them playing Virginia Wesleyan and Lynchburg back-to-back in mid-October. Randolph-Macon is the ODAC opener September 22nd. I mentioned this on the men's side, but the same thing is true for the Yellow Jackets in women's soccer. That program has made some big strides in the past few years, so if the Generals are overlooking Randolph-Macon, thinking that's not going to be a tough conference game, then they could trip up in Ashland. Roanoke is another big rival. The Maroons maybe not quite as strong as they were 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 years ago, but certainly not a pushover. And then Shenandoah on the road. The Hornets have knocked the Generals out of the ODAC tournament a couple of times in recent years. So we are seeing the league progress, especially the top half of the ODAC. It's not just 1, 2, 3 teams. We're seeing a little bit more depth for the conference. That's been, I think, a storyline for the past few seasons.
Well, I think this Generals team is a fantastic returning class. We're going to see some first and second year student athletes show up for the Generals, especially the spotlight is going to be on Grace Coombs in between the pipes for the Generals. I think that's, as you said many times here, going to be a key focus for them. The Generals have been blessed in years past with phenomenal goalkeeping, and the Generals should have a phenomenal year.
That's the hope. This is certainly a team that is capable of winning an ODAC championship if they stay healthy in the back, and if the players who we expect to produce, the veterans on this team, do what they're expected to do. We could see the Generals have a very successful 2018.
Well, I'll take the handoff from here, Jim, as Jeremy's leg should be good and warmed up now. Certainly, we've had him talking a bunch about men's and women's soccer, but now we transition to the sport that's the penalty for all other sports, men's and women's cross country. Yes, of course, that's running outside in the heat. I guess in the fall, the temperature cools down a little bit for long distances. And, of course, both of these programs, the men's and women's cross-country teams, have been dominant in years past. In fact, both are 3-time defending league champions, Jeremy. And let's start with the men's team, who was picked in the preseason poll to be first, who finished on top of 12 schools with 121 points and 11 first-place votes. There's already been one meet, the Hokie Invite, the 6K, where Washington and Lee was the only Division III team to participate, and they finished 3rd out of 7 schools. Jeremy, when you take a look at the men's cross country program, what do you expect here in 2018?
Well, the expectations, I think, certainly start with another ODAC title. The Generals did lose Mackenzie Leroy, who was a great captain and one of 3 Washington and Lee runners who competed at the Division III meet last year. The entire team made it in 2016. They finished as the runner-up at the South-Southeast Regional and qualified as an entire squad, the first time that had happened in over 2 decades. So I talked to Brandon Spalding earlier before the season had even begun, and the preseason was going very well for the Generals, despite all the extreme heat that they've had to deal with. That certainly helps on the conditioning front. But he mentioned that the 3, 4, 5 guys, and of course, if you have a great runner or 2 in cross country, you can get some individual accolades, and they can put up some terrific times. But the meets are won and lost. ODAC championships, regional championships, NCAA appearances, based on how 3, 4, and 5 do, how the other scoring runners do. And the splits between the 1 through 5 were even closer in the preseason than they were 2 years ago for that great team that went all the way to the NCAA championship as a squad that won the ODAC and finished second in the regionals.
Another meet coming your way this weekend, in fact today, as the JMU Invitational is underway. The 8K distance at Newmarket Battlefield. How does this one shape up for the Generals?
To be honest, Andy, I have no idea. And cross-country regular season meets are an interesting animal because oftentimes it's a split squad. We're going to see the Generals send runners here, send runners there. It's all about training, conditioning, and building up to the postseason. In terms of meets that do matter in the regular season, I'm interested to see what happens next week, not because it may be the deepest field in the world, but the Generals see the ODAC Championship course in Winchester on September 22nd. That'll be true on the women's side as well. It's strange to think we're used to covering football, soccer, basketball, what have you, where the regular season really does have a major impact on how you might fare. For a sport like cross country, it's more about preparing for those postseason events.
Preppertunity is one of my favorite words in the dictionary. Preparing for the opportunity of the ODAC and NCAA championships. And just like the men, the women's cross-country team is picked to finish atop the ODAC once again as they got the top spot out of the 13 schools that compete in this prestigious sport. With 141 points, 10 first-place votes, finishing ahead of Lynchburg that finished with 128 points and 2 first-place votes. And, of course, just like the men, the women participated in the Hokie Invite last weekend, and Washington and Lee was able to notch 64 points, finishing in 3rd place out of 9 schools competing on the women's side. And the big news for Washington and Lee is welcoming back Samantha Yates, who did not participate last year, Jeremy, due to injury, but she qualified for the NCAA championship for her 2nd year in a row in 2016, and she's certainly the lead runner for this women's squad.
This team, not to put too much pressure on Mike Dager's women's cross-country team, they could be scary good because they didn't lose anybody who scored for them in the ODAC championship last year. All those runners returned. Not only do you get Samantha Yates back, but another senior, Maggie Siebold, returning from some injury issues. They've had such brilliant careers in both cross-country and track and field. 3 first-team All-ODAC selections from a season ago. On top of that, Kirsten McMichael, Julia Moody, and Anna Nelson. If this team stays healthy, they could really do some damage in the postseason, way beyond just winning another ODAC title, which I think the Generals are very capable of doing.
Well, the ODAC Championship, as Jeremy mentioned, is slated for October 27th in Winchester, Virginia, for both the men and the women. NCAAs come your way in November. On November 10th, the NCAA South-Southeast Regional at Berry College in Rome, Georgia. And then for the few lucky runners that qualify, the NCAA Championship at Lake Breeze Golf Club in Wisconsin on November 17th. That's going to do it for this segment of Generals Game Day as we've run through our fall sports preview, part 2, covering men's soccer, women's soccer, and cross country. We're going to take a 30-second timeout. When we come back on Generals Game Day, it's time for everyone's favorite segment. That, of course, is Tailgating with Jim Plantholt. Stay with us. You're listening to Generals Game Day on 91.5 FM, WLUR Lexington.
You wanted to be a teacher when you were little, but as you grew up, things changed. Teaching just didn't seem like the best option anymore. So you decided to become something else. But what would your 12-year-old self say? Interesting and innovative things are happening in teaching today. So it's time to put it back on your list. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. You had it right the first time.
Find out how you can make more at teach.org. Make more. Teach. Brought to you by Teach and the Ad Council.
Fans, you know what that sound means. It's now time for Tailgating with Jim Plantholt. So after last week's dip, I can't wait to see what he's got in store for us today.
Andy, what I have in store for you is another good sharing tailgate recipe here. We've got some easy pull-apart pizza bread. If you think about monkey bread that we all had as kids, it's just like that, except it's got some pizza sauce and a good hearty dish as the weather starts to turn a little cooler. First, I'm going to give you guys the recipes and then show you how to put it all together. First, you're going to need 2 cans of pizza dough or biscuits. I prefer the Pillsbury because they got the cute little Pillsbury Doughboy on it. Then you're going to need 2 cups of mozzarella cheese. I prefer the shredded, or you can get the balls, but shredded is the easy one to go with. You're going to need 2 tablespoons of good Italian seasoning, about a third a cup of olive oil, an 8-ounce package of sliced pepperoni, 1 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese, and you might want some fresh garlic or garlic powder. I prefer a lot of garlic, so I would highly suggest that. First thing you're going to want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees and get yourself a bunt pan, lightly greased and set aside. Cut the biscuits in. Cut your pepperonis in half. That way it makes it easier when you pull it apart. You're not just pulling half of the bread with you. Next, you want all the ingredients in a bowl and toss so that the oil is spread evenly on each piece of the dough or your biscuits. Don't worry about evenly spreading it out yet. You just want to get everything covered with all the oil and all of the Italian seasoning. Go ahead and put that mixture evenly spread into the bunt pan and bake it for 30 minutes. The top of that should be brown and the center should be thoroughly cooked. You can test that just by pulling a piece off and let that cool down. You're going to want to make it sit there for about 5 minutes. Flip it over onto a plate while it's still warm but not too hot. Serve it with a little bit of marinara sauce on the side, and you have yourself a wonderful dish to share. You can make a few of them ahead of time and then just heat them back up in the oven just a little bit before you're going to serve it. That way everyone has enough to go around, a beautiful dish to share with friends.
Wow, that sounds delicious. I'm really excited to see what Jim has in store for us next week, the home opener on September 15th. I know, Neil, last week you requested Dip Week, almost like Shark Week.
I couldn't even imagine myself without a cigarette. I was like up to 2 packs a day.
1-800-QUIT now.
I just decided to call and see what it was about and see how they could help. They're there for you. I got stressed out and I picked up a cigarette, so I called the counselor and they told me that, it happens. Sometimes it takes a few tries. Nobody's perfect. Even if you quit, they're still there if you need them. If you're really serious about quitting, call.
Call 1-800-QUIT now, a public service of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and this station.
Global warming is here. The effects may seem slight now,
but in a few decades, they could be massive. Heat waves, floods, and food shortages. What can we do? We can join together. Because when many unite as one,
we can achieve anything.
Together, we're powerful. Find out how we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution. Go to fightglobalwarming.com. Brought to you by Environmental Defense, the Robertson Foundation, and the Ad Council.
You are listening to Washington and Lee University football on 91.5 FM WLUR Lexington.
At the football game, Jim shows the telltale signs of being wasted. He starts flexing for the camera. He refers to his muscles as gunboats. He screams, "How's this for a halftime show?" Jim streaks the field.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many to drive. But what if you've had just one too many to drive? Never underestimate just a few. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
I don't need to start saving. I'm years from retirement.
Floods don't happen here.
This chest pain is just a little indigestion.
This isn't a flood zone, right?
People have an amazing ability to deny obvious risks, like flooding. Yet floods happen in all 50 states. Fortunately, it's easy to find out your risk. Just visit floodsmart.gov or call 1-888-RAIN-022. Brought to you by the National Flood Insurance Program.
I need answers to my tax questions. Where can I find them? Need answers? Try our interactive tax assistant on irs.gov/ITA. Simply select your tax questions, provide your information, and it gives you answers. Also, check our Help and Resources page and try our online tax map. 5,000 tax topics from A to Z. Plus, you can access forms, publications in a variety of formats.
Doc, remember me?
Not now, Trig. Hi, I'm Dr. Donica Moore. You've heard about good and bad cholesterol, but how about triglycerides?
Keep me under 150.
Normal triglycerides are under 150. High triglycerides increase risk of heart disease. For women, that risk goes up even more.
150.
The forgotten fat triglyceride needs attention. So please ask your doctor about the forgotten fat triglycerides. For more information, go to ForgottenFat.com. A message from Sister to Sister, working together for healthy hearts.
Sparky the Fire Dog here. Make sure your family has a fire escape plan, and they practice it twice a year. One important thing to practice is get low and go. If you see or smell smoke, it's important to get low and go. Protect your family from fire. For more information, visit sparky.org.
We want to keep you, your family, and your community safer from fire. This message brought to you by the National Fire Protection Association and your local fire department. Visit sparky.org.
What if you didn't care about being on the fast track? Instead of flying to the big interview, what if you flew somewhere else altogether? Like a village in Botswana or a tiny island in the Pacific where needs are easy to see? What if you decided to share your skills with others and help someone else get ahead? Peace Corps. Life is calling. How far will you go? To find out more, call 800-424-8580 or visit peacecorps.gov.
The following is a presentation of Generals Football on WLUR Lexington 91.5 FM. Now let's go out to the field for the call of today's game. Here's Andy McEnroe.
Hi, hello, and welcome to Suwanee, Tennessee.
Global warming is here. The effects may seem slight now,
but in a few decades, they could be massive. Heat waves, floods, and food shortages. What can we do? We can join together. Because when many unite as one,
we can achieve anything.
Together, we're powerful. Find out how we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution. Go to fightglobalwarming.com. Brought to you by Environmental Defense, the Robertson Foundation, and the Ad Council.
I couldn't even imagine myself without a cigarette. I was like up to 2 packs a day.
1-800-QUIT now.
I just decided to call and see what it was about and see how they could help. They're there for you. I got stressed out and I picked up a cigarette, so I called the counselor and they told me that, it happens. Sometimes it takes a few tries. Nobody's perfect. Even if you quit, they're still there if you need them. If you're really serious about quitting, call.
Call 1-800-QUIT now, a public service of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and this station.
You are listening to Washington and Lee University Football on 91.5 FM WLUR Lexington.
I couldn't even imagine myself without a cigarette. I was like up to 2 packs a day.
1-800-QUIT now.
I just decided to call and see what it was about and see how they could help. They're there for you. I got stressed out and I picked up a cigarette, so I called the counselor and they told me that, it happens. Sometimes it takes a few tries. Nobody's perfect. Even if you quit, they're still there if you need them. If you're really serious about quitting, call.
Call 1-800-QUIT now, a public service of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and this station.
Well, hi, hello, and welcome to Suwanee, Tennessee for Generals Football on 91.5 FM WLUR Lexington. Alongside Wayne Martindale, I am Andy McEnroe, welcoming you to Game 2 of the 2018 season for the Generals. As Washington and Lee last week knocked off Dickinson by the score of 16-10 in overtime, Suwanee also coming in with a mark of 1-0 after an impressive 43-10 win a week ago at Kenyon. Both of these teams with a long-standing rivalry. This is the 67th time these two teams are meeting on the gridiron in a series that dates all the way back to 1892. In fact, the home team has had a distinct advantage in this series for quite some time, but Washington and Lee, as of late, has been successful here in Suwanee, winning 7 of the last 9 in Harris Stadium. As I welcome in my partner, Wayne Martindale. Wayne, we last called a game in 2014, but the offense for Washington and Lee looks very similar here in 2018 under new head coach Garrett LaRose.
Yeah, absolutely. The triple option is always great. Outstanding execution in the last couple of years by its offensive unit. A lot has to do with the offensive calling by our coordinators. Of course, with Scott Abel, he left a great blueprint, go on and move on to the next part of the season, coming from a high from last year, winning the ODAC being ODAC Conference champions. So really interested to see it here if we get another excellent, outstanding offensive performance.
Well, for the Generals, they will be in their road white uniforms once again. Suwanee in their home purple uniforms. The Generals with blue numbers and blue trim down their pants with the blue trident on the left side and right sides of the helmet. Suwanee, as I mentioned, purple uniforms, white numbers with gold trim, white pants, purple helmet with a white tiger on the side of the helmet. As we get set for the coin toss, we'll give you the starting offense for the Generals here today, as Drew Richardson, the junior, will start at quarterback. He'll be joined in the backfield at slot back by Josh McDonald, Josh McDonald at slot back, Josh Brees at option back, and Carter Huffman and Montgomery Owen splitting time at the other slot back position. Once again, the injury bug has bit the Generals. I think that's the best way to say it, Wayne, as Jimmy Johnson for the second straight week will be out. I know we talked a lot in Generals game day about welcoming him back, but he did not clear the concussion protocol in advance of today's contest.
Yeah, I think this would be a great opportunity for Josh McDonald as a freshman to come into this game to kind of alleviate some of that stress not having Jimmy Johnson today. Again, just like everyone says, next man up. So I'm expecting big things from the freshmen today as we move forward to get 4 good quarters of solid football.
Continuing with the starting offense for the Generals, the senior Henry Schwartz gets the start at wide receiver. At tight end is the senior number 95, Reed Olstrom. The offensive line is senior number 79, Mitch Hornsby. Senior number 64, Harrison Carlson. Junior number 66, Kyle Perrell. Senior number 59, Joe Magdalene. And junior number 71, Sean Clark. The starting defense for the Generals today has junior number 88, Oak Mize, at the defensive end position. The nose guard is junior number 69, Philip Davis. The defensive tackle is junior number 75, Trip Callahan. The outside linebackers for the Generals are sophomore number 54, Andrew Frailer, and sophomore number 16, Fred Benham. The inside linebackers, junior number 32, Will Corey, and sophomore number 40, Sam Murphy. Sam Murphy led the Generals in tackles a week ago. The defensive secondary for the blue and white has first year number 24, Owen Roberts, getting a start today. Junior number 25, Davis Waldrop. First year number 22, Dean Johnson. And junior number 31, Matt Dodson.
Yeah, as we were talking early in the pregame, there's a lot of young blood in the field today, especially key positions at the safety position. Last week, Generals they kept us in the game. Very stingent on defense. So, again, big things from these true freshmen out in the field today.
Well, Washington and Lee has won the toss. They have elected to receive. Here on your radio dials, Suwanee will be going left to right here in quarter number 1. Washington and Lee right to left. Wayne, if you're head coach Garrett LaRose, what are your keys to victory today for the blue and white?
I think the big thing is offensive execution in the first half. Last week we struggled to try to get a groove in. Luckily, our defense kept us in the game. So, again, have a good plan. Don't fight the plan, fight the opponent coming into this game. And I think they got the kinks out in the last week's game. Moving in, they had plenty of time to make the adjustments. So I think it's the big thing. Just, again, play the opponent, not the game plan. And like I said, constant communication in terms of the play call and just make the adjustments when needed.
Well, for Washington and Lee, their second non-conference contest of the season. Last week I mentioned they defeated Dickinson, a game where the offense was stuck in neutral for much of the game, but eventually it was Josh Brees breaking out with 122 yards on the day on 26 carries and 2 touchdowns. He'll have to carry much of the load once again for the Generals, who are still looking to find that constant rhythm on offense that they had last year. But last year, a different team, a lot of senior leaders. This year, a lot of young guys, as we mentioned in the starting lineups, particularly at that slot back position.
Yeah, absolutely. You're talking about the void, especially in pass protection, run option, especially these young guys got to step up, make the key blocks they need to, allow Brees to make his runs, make his reads, and I think that's partial success that we'll need to see for the Generals on offense.
And last week against Dickinson, the defense bailed out the offense more so than in years past. In fact, last year in this game, it was a shootout, a 63-30 victory in Lexington for the Generals, where Washington and Lee put up 554 total yards. The defense forced 4 interceptions and a fumble. Swanee's offense did pretty well themselves, 476 total yards of offense a year ago. We're ready to go, and the Suwanee kicker, Michael Jacobs, has it teed up at the 35, and he's going to boom this one away into the back corner. It's going to be Alex Wentz on the return from the far sideline. He's across the 20, finds a seam at the 25, gets through across the 30, and a nice shoestring tackle made by the Suwanee specials teams coverage there as the Generals will start in front of their own 30-yard line.
Yeah, great return by the freshman. It's outstanding offensive field position for the Generals to get here and try to get 6 early points, especially on this opening drive. I think that will give some confidence to the offensive unit going into this game.
Well, Drew Richardson will bring his offensive unit out on the field. As we mentioned, he's joined in the backfield by Josh Brees, the all-everything first-team preseason All-American sophomore. Josh McDonald at the left slot position. Montgomery Owen at the right slot back position. McDonald comes in deep motion. Richardson will fake it to Brees and keep it himself, running off right tackle, and picks up about 2 yards on the carry. So that'll bring up 2nd down and 8. It was Lee Menifee, the leading tackler from a year ago for Suwanee, on the stop on that 1st and 10 offensive play. Now Drew Richardson from the shotgun. Josh Brees offset to his left. Montgomery Owen comes in deep motion from the right slot back position. The handoff is to Brees. There is laundry on the field as Josh Brees is stopped just short of a 1st down. We'll have to see what the penalty is based on where it was thrown. It's either offsides, Wayne, on the defense, or a legal shift on the offense.
Yeah, it looked like someone was a little early on the offensive line. I think this might be coming back for us.
It's going to be just that, a legal formation on Washington and Lee. The penalty thrown on Josh Brees. 5-yard penalty still remains 2nd down, so we'll make it 2nd down and 12 for the Generals. As we are just underway here in the first quarter, thanks for joining us on WLUR and WLUR All Access.
It's an interesting situation here. We got a 2nd and long, first drive of the play. I think I want to see him air it out in the next couple of plays.
Drew Richardson will run the speed option to the left side of the formation. He'll keep it himself and is stocked up and stopped after a gain of about 4 by the Suwanee defense. I have to tell you, Wayne, you're going to be quite disappointed if you're looking for the Generals to air it out, a team that averages just 5 passes a game over the past few seasons. So it brings up a 3rd down and manageable, as the coaching staff would call it, about 3rd and 8 upcoming for the blue and white.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a tale as old as time in terms of not airing out, but it's always interesting to see if they have that pass play in the Rolodex.
Richardson will run the option to the right side of the formation, pitches to McDonald, and McDonald running with the football. The ball pops out. It's going to be recovered by Suwanee. On the recovery is Lee Menifee, and Menifee recovers, and Suwanee takes over, and once again, a tale as old as last week, we'll call it. The offense gives the ball to Suwanee, and now it's Swanee's offense with great field position.
Yeah, these are the things we're alluding to in the pregame. We're talking about this is simple mental errors, especially ball security. Hold on to the ball, especially going upfield. Those things like that are going to kill the Generals.
So the Tigers will take over with 13:25 to play in the first quarter. We are knotted at 0 here early in Suwanee, Tennessee. And it's Alex Darris, the starting quarterback for the Tigers, operating from the shotgun. He'll turn, hands it to Warren Holland, his running back, and Holland, running off the left guard's hip, will push the pile forward for a gain of about 3.
Yeah, I like the execution on that last play, especially D-line. You see a big push in the front. 40 got there in the backfield real early, just missed the shoestring tackle.
So a hurry-up offense for the Tigers. The handoff is to Holland once again. He'll run straight up the gut. This time picks up 2. We'll set up a 3rd down and 5. We'll quickly give you at least part of the Suwanee starting offense. We mentioned the junior quarterback, Alex Darris. He's joined in the backfield by junior number 24, Warren Holland. The wide receivers are junior number 85, Alan Prairie, senior number 11, Alan Parrott, and junior number 7, Micah Mays. We'll give you the rest of the offense after this. 3rd down and 5 from the Washington and Lee 42. Darris to the air for the first time today, and the pass is broken up in coverage that time for the Generals. Was number 16, Fred Benham. who was able to knock it away from the intended receiver, which looked like it was one of the tight ends out on the outside for the Tigers.
Yeah, excellent coverage by a sophomore. He was right there, man-to-man. All he had to do is just stick that hand in there. That's the things we want to see. These are the things we're talking about. The defense, it's going to be a defensive game. The defense doesn't keep us in the ball game.
So Ben Brown will come in to kick this one away. Last year averaged 38.1 yards per punt. In week 1, kicked the ball 4 times, an average of 33.5 yards for the Tigers. Back deep to return is Montgomery Owen. He did return one for a touchdown last week that was called back due to a penalty. And before we can have the 4th down and 5 play unfold, timeout called on the field by the Suwannee Tigers, and we'll keep it right here. And remind you that this broadcast of Generals Athletics is being brought to you in part by the Washington and Lee University Store. Owned and operated by W&L, the University Store is located right on campus in the Elrod Commons. The store features a wide range of apparel celebrating W&L, including the Peter Millar Collegiate Collection, offering polos, sweaters for your game day style. If you're looking for workout gear, we have a variety of performance apparel from Nike and Under Armour. All proceeds go back to the Washington and Lee community, helping to fund athletic, alumni, and student programs. The store is open 7 days a week. Order online anytime at store.wlu.edu. Back to the live action on the field here in Suwannee, Tennessee. A partly cloudy day, some thunderclouds building we talked about off air, Wayne, and hopefully the rain and thunderstorms hold off for this one. It is a warm day here as well as Brown gets set to kick this one away. Good rush by the Generals. Brown will hit it off the side of his foot, travels to about the Washington and Lee 23-yard line, then takes a backward hop in the favor of the Generals and will be downed at the Generals' 27-yard line.
And that was excellent special teams play right there. That was like you said, it's a near block. You had 3 W&L players in the face of the punter before he even got the ball off. So, again, special teams, defense, these are things we want to see. They're obviously executing on that side of the ball. We'll see what they do the second go out for the offense.
So the Generals offense will come back out onto the field, and if you were with us last week, you know the Generals rotate their quarterbacks, and here comes sophomore Trey Lachlan into the ball game to run the show for head coach Garrett LaRose. He's joined in the backfield by senior Colin Sherman. They'll run option to the left side. McDonald, the pitchman. Lachlan will keep it. He's the faster of the 2 quarterbacks, and he picks up 11 yards on that first down carry and a Washington and Lee first down.
Yeah, it's great execution on the outside. He had the key blocks. Receivers locked in on their DBs. Easy 11 yards for the young quarterback.
Lachlan only had net rushing yards of 6 yards a week ago, so he already surpasses his total from week 1 here in his first play of week 2.
Yeah, I'm always interested to see what they do with the quarterback by committee approach. Let's see if he gets his good game flowing.
1st and 10 for the Generals. Handoff is to Colin Sherman. He'll run right up the gut, and Sherman's going to have near first down yardage. Appears to be 1 yard shy of the marker, so it will bring up 2nd down and 1 from the Washington and Lee 47. And what you'll see is as the Generals have success with the offense, the tempo picks up a little bit, and that's exactly what head coach Garrett LaRose is doing as Lachlan quickly to the line of scrimmage. Handoff is to Sherman once again. Sherman will have enough for the first down as he dances forward for a gain of 2.
Yeah, the hurry-up offense, no matter what team you are, that's tough to beat. Tempo, especially trying to get personnel on and off the field, especially if you can run ragged down the field in terms of the game tempo by the offense. We want to see that right now. You can see they're slowing down just a little bit, get the good play call in. But right now we're off to a great drive.
1st and 10 for the Generals. Ball marked at midfield on the near side hash. The offense's wide side is the right side. Coming in deep motion from that side is Owen. Handoff is the Sherman, though, and Sherman, the big fellow, the senior, plowing ahead for a gain of 7 on that 1st and 10 carry.
Yeah, don't be fooled. 37, he's a smaller guy, but the last 3 plays we see him truck stick the Suwannee DBs.
Listed as 5'9", 182 pounds, he certainly, the senior, runs a lot harder than that size would indicate. 2nd down and 3 upcoming for the Generals in Suwannee territory for the first time to the game, and the Generals go to the air. It's Lachlan with a beautiful pass to Owen, and Owen is inside the 10 yards and out of bounds at the 6-yard line after hurdling a defender en route to putting the Generals in the red zone for the first time today.
Andy, I think the OC heard my call for a pass play. I think I'll take the credit for that big completion.
So the sophomore Trey Lachlan with a beautiful pass to Montgomery Owen, the converted wide receiver. Last year, he took most of his reps at wide receiver for the Generals, moves into slot back this year as the coaching staff felt like he had the athletic skills to do so, and that time shows the soft hands as it's 1st and goal for the Generals. Ball at the 6. Handoff is to Colin Sherman. Sherman running right up the middle, and he'll be just shy of the end zone. Ball spotted inside the 1.
There's been no match up front for 37. The last 4 carries, even after the first touch, he's still breaking those tackles, getting upfield.
Generals quickly to the line of scrimmage, split end to the left side of the formation. Handoff is to Sherman, and he'll go right into the end zone untouched. The Generals strike first. They lead Suwannee by the score of 6-0 on the 1-yard touchdown run by Colin Sherman.
I think that's what we needed. We were just talking about the offense was looking flat last week, but we got the first drive, got the kinks out. Costly mistake with the fumble, but I think as a confidence builder, that's everything that we needed going into this quarter of the ball game.
So Jarrett Wright will come on to attempt the extra point out of the hold of Trey Lachlan. Last season, Wright was good from field. He only attempted 5 field goals last season. Last week was a perfect 1 of 1 on field goals. But this one on the extra point is no good. Wide to the right, and so the score remains 6-0.
Yeah, I would say we were talking about special teams play. We needed all the work all at one time, so obviously the offense marched downfield. Special teams, easy extra point, costly miss by the kicker.
So with 9:59 to play in the first quarter, it's Washington and Lee 6, Suwannee 0. We'll keep it right here in the booth for you here at Harris Stadium. A packed press box here, so if you overhear some things, it's just because we're sitting in tight quarters today, but pleased to be hosted by the University of the South, the Suwannee Tigers athletic program, as it's a beautiful day for football here in Tennessee. Jarrett Wright will put the ball on the near side hash. The Generals, as a reminder, going right to left here in quarter 1, so the kickoff team's wide side is the right side of the formation. Suwannee counters by putting 3 individuals inside the hash marks. Back deep to return for the Tigers. Looks to be number McCullough, as well as the player we've got a tough angle on his number, so we'll tell you it as soon as we
think
do.
It's number 1.
It looks like it is number 1. Or it's going to be number 7, Micah Mays on the return. He'll catch it at the goal line, brings it across the 20, working towards the far side bench for the Generals, or towards the Generals bench, I should say, and goes out of bounds at the Suwannee 25-yard line.
Yeah, as we talk momentum here, we need another 3 and out by the defense. Right now, they're unmatched in the front end of the game. Our DNs and our DBs are getting straight into that backfield, so let's see if we can try to continue that tempo on defense.
So the Suwannee Tiger offense will come out for the second time today. Last year, Darius completed 56.6% of his passes, so very efficient through the air. He'll send 3 eligible receivers to the right side of the formation. He'll fake the handoff to Holland and throw into the flat to his tight end, number 99, Trey Claus. And Claus will pick up 10 yards on the little out route, and he'll pick up a Suwannee Tiger first down. The Tigers hurry quickly to the line of scrimmage. Let me correct myself. He's just short of a first down. 2nd down and 1 officially. Ball spotted at the 34. Darius back to pass, looks over the middle, has a man open. It's complete. Still on his feet and working through Washington and Lee territory is Cyrus McCullough, and he'll have the first down for the Tigers, their first down of the day, and the Tiger offense quickly to the line of scrimmage.
And in that last play, it looked like there's just some busted coverage. That could be easily a freshman mistake coming in here to the DB and free safety position. 2 receivers to either side of the formation. Handoff is to Holland, the tailback this time, and the junior will run forward for a gain of 3 yards. Brings up 2nd down and 7 for the Tigers. Ball at the Washington and Lee 35-yard line, just inside the far side hash. The offense's wide side is the right side as the Suwannee Tigers swap receiving personnel. And coming into the ball game is Colin May, the sophomore. He'll line up in the right slot.
Bunch formation, 2 receivers tight to the offensive line on either side of the formation. Generals show blitz as Darius drops back to pass. He looks to his right, fires to the right flat, and it's complete on the out route to Mays. Mays is out of bounds, and he's got another Tiger first down.
Yeah, Matt Dodson just looked a slight bit out of position there. He's given a little too much buffer at the line of scrimmage. Yeah, he's there to clean it up at the tackle, but like I said, physically, I think he's there with number 7. Matchup in terms of size and speed.
1st and 10 for Suwannee. Ball at the Washington and Lee 27-yard line. 2 receivers to the wide side of the formation. Handoff will go to Holland. He's running that way. Now cuts it back, going back up the middle, and he'll be tackled after a gain of 3 yards on the stop for Washington and Lee. Was number 90, Jay Roberts, the defensive lineman. We go under 8 minutes to play in quarter number 1. It's Washington and Lee 6, Suwannee 0. 2 receivers to either side of the formation. A split and a wing back to the right. A slot receiver and split end to the left side of the formation. And out on the outside, number 85 for the Tigers. That's Alan Puri jumped. And so it's going to be a false start on Suwannee. So that'll back the Tigers up back the Tigers up and give them a 2nd down and long upcoming after that 5-yard penalty. 2nd and 11 to be exact. And, Wayne, that's always a momentum killer as the Tigers were moving pretty quickly here down the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Gives us an opportunity to catch our breath, make the personnel changes we need as well. And I think they jumped again on that one. And
there is more movement up front on the Tigers' offensive line as it looked like Darius was trying to check the play, and one of his offensive linemen jumped. So tack 5 more yards in the opposite direction for the Tigers. Makes it 2nd down and 16 upcoming for the offense that was dropping and getting deep into Washington and Lee territory.
They were in the middle of the field. There's not a DB around.
Generals rush 3. Screen pass set up by the Tigers. It's complete to Holland. Well played by the Generals defense, but Holland will get back close to the original line of scrimmage. Appears to be about 1 yard shy of that marker, so it will bring up a 3rd down and 11 after the completed screen pass.
Again, the thing I really like seeing right now with the Generals is a lot of missed tackles, especially they're there to meet the ball, but unfortunately they're not wrapping it up. They're not making physical contact. Again, tackles, we got to tackle.
3rd and 11 upcoming. Back to pass is Darius. Generals bring the pressure, and it's going to get to him. Darius is sacked in the backfield. Coming off the edge for Washington and Lee was Will Corey, as well as number 75, Trip Callahan there as well. For the blue and white, and this will force the Tigers, because they're kind of in no man's land, to send their punting team out there and look for the pooch punt.
That was an absolute momentum killer. They went back 10 yards on the way from there, and then they had 3 busted plays after that. So again, this is what we need and we expect from the Generals on defense.
So for the 2nd time today, Ben Brown will come out to kick this one away. Back deep is Montgomery Owen. He will stand at his own 10-yard line. Brown will kick it from about the 50. There is a flag on the play. Owen signals for fair catch. It'll go over his head and into the end zone for a touchback, but let's see what the penalty is.
I think this one's coming back. It might be a false start or illegal formation.
So as the officials talk this one over, we remind you that 6:01, I should say that there's 6 minutes and 1 second left in the first quarter, and it's Washington and Lee 6, Suwannee 0.
I think we're going to go ahead and decline.
So the officials walk over to head coach Garrett LaRose, and he wants an explanation in terms of if the penalty is tacked on at the end of the touchback or if they've got to re-kick it. I would think if it's tacked on, he's going to take it. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So an illegal formation for Suwannee, 5 yards tacked on to the end of the play, which it was a touchback. And so Washington and Lee will get the ball now at its own 25-yard line.
Yeah, it seems like this last drive they're firing all cylinders, especially we talk about the up-tempo and the battle up front with that offensive line, making it easy for the halfback to get through, untouched. I'm excited to see what we're going to try to do with this drive.
Drew Richardson back in at quarterback. Josh Priest back in at slot back. McDonald comes in deep motion. Speed sweep to the right side of the formation. McDonald running with it. Breaks 1 tackle. Still on his feet. Fighting for yards, and he'll pick up about 3 yards on the carry. 2nd down and 7 upcoming for the Generals. Jackson Menifee on the stop of the McDonald right side speed sweep. Richardson from the shotgun. Generals base formations, tight end and wing to the right side of the formation. Wing and split to the left side. Handoff is to Josh Brees running up the middle, and he's met by a wall of defenders. Leading the charge for Suwannee was number 71, Connor McReynolds. McReynolds in the middle of that defense on this series for the Tigers. He's a big fella, and he was able to clog up the hole, and Josh Brees could not get anything going. So it brings up 3rd down and 5 for the blue and white. Richardson from the shotgun. He'll run speed option to the left side of the formation, pitches to Josh McDonald, and McDonald is going to be tackled 1 yard shy of a first down. And let's see what head coach Garrett LaRose does. It looks like he's going to send out his punting team for the first time today and kick this one away. I think that's a smart decision deep in your own territory.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now you have a good thing going. You kind of worked out some of the kinks, so we'll just go ahead and play conservative, kick the ball downfield, and let the defense continue to do their job.
So Bo Sheridan in to kick this one away for Washington and Lee. Back deep to return for Suwannee looks to be William Phillips, the sophomore. Good snap, and Sheridan not being rushed, and he'll hit a line drive spiral to Phillips that will field it at the 23 in the middle of the field. He'll work his way towards the Washington and Lee bench, still on his feet as he crosses the 50, 45, 40, running down the sideline. It looks like he stepped out of bounds after a big return inside the 35-yard line. Officially spotted, it looks like, at the 33-yard line.
Yeah, I think right there, again, poor tackling baggage, but I think this might be coming back. We might have a block in the back.
There is laundry on the field. The flag thrown at the Suwannee 39. And by the way, the Generals' defense is reacting. They assume it's on Suwannee and that the offense will be starting in its own territory.
Yeah, like I said, I think it might have had a block in the back. That might be.
Looks like it's going to be a hold on the return team. And a 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul, which will be near the 39-yard line. And so that should back Suwannee up to the 29-yard line, its own 29-yard line.
Yeah, as we talk about momentum, we talk about both teams. And this right here, again, they came off a bad series. They're knocking on the door. They try to punch 6 in. 2 bad penalties, and they had to kick it away. And then now this costly holding call on special teams.
So the Suwannee offense takes the field with 4 receivers on the field, 2 to either side of the formation. Darris will take the snap, hands to the junior tailback Holland. Holland running off right tackle, and he'll dive forward for a gain of 2 on that first down carry.
Yeah, again, we just keep seeing it after every drive. Our front 4, they're always meeting the running back in the backfield, especially the quarterback. They're causing rush plays and penalties as well.
Great play by Phillip Davis, the nose guard, working down the line for the tackle on first down. Now the Generals bring pressure on this 2nd down and 8. And Darris is just able to get the ball away before Andrew Frailer got there to put the quarterback on his back, as Darris, from my perspective, looked like he was just trying to get the ball out of bounds.
Yeah, Frailer was right there in his face. He had no choice from there. That would have been a sack for a loss. So good throwaway by the quarterback. Excellent play by the linebacker.
3rd down and 8 upcoming. Offense's wide side is the left side. They'll send 3 receivers that direction. Single split end to the right side of the formation. Darris looks over the middle of the field, has a man wide open. It's complete to McCullough, and McCullough will have a first down, tackled just shy of midfield at the Suwannee 49-yard line, and a big 3rd down conversion for the Tigers.
Yeah, again, it's a costly mistake in coverage. We talked about our front 4 meeting in the backfield, but unfortunately we were able to cover down the middle of the field, so it's again another big gainer to the middle of the field when no one was around.
And timeout on the field called by Washington and Lee. 3:12 left to play in the first quarter. It's Washington and Lee 6, Suwannee 0. We'll take a 30-second timeout and be back with more action from Suwannee, Tennessee. You're listening to Generals Football on WLUR.
Global warming is here. The effects may seem
slight now, but in a few decades,
they could be massive. Heat waves, floods, and food shortages. What can we do?
We can join together. Because when many unite as one,
we can achieve anything.
Together, we're powerful. Find out how we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution. Go to fightglobalwarming.com. Brought to you by Environmental Defense, the Robertson Foundation, and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Suwanee, Tennessee, Harris Stadium on the campus of the University of the South for Generals football on 91.5 FM, WLUR Lexington, alongside Wayne Martindale. I am Andy McEnroe. The Generals lead the Tigers by a score of 6-0, 3:12 left to play in the first quarter, and a 1st and 10 for the Tigers coming out of this Washington Lee timeout. The Tigers send a trips formation, 3 receivers to the left side of the formation as the handoff goes to Holland running up the middle. He's met by the Generals defensive line, but not after he picks up 3 yards on that first down carry.
Yeah, so far the run game's been pretty ineffective for the Tigers. They've had their greatest success when they throw the ball, especially towards the middle of the field.
For Warren Holland, he's got 5 carries, 21 yards now on the day. 2nd down and 7 upcoming for the Tigers. Play action this time as Darris moves to his left. He's hit as he throws, but just overthrows his intended man. Colin May was open in between the General zone defense. It looked like they were in cover 3, Wayne, that time, and May had found the seam, but given the pressure that the defensive line is putting in Darris, he had to get rid of that ball probably before he was ready to do so.
Absolutely. Again, this has been the key to the success of this defense. They're playing an unlimited amount of pressure on that quarterback. Again, it affects the timing, especially receivers. He's having errant balls downfield. It's very hard for him to connect for his receivers right now.
3rd and 7 upcoming as Darris receives the shotgun snap, looks to his left, fires across the field, fit the ball in almost perfectly, and it looked like it went in and out of the hands of the intended receiver. Great throw by the junior quarterback. It was intended for Daniel Armar, but Armar unable to hang on to it as he went to the turf.
Yeah, I saw that last play. It looked like they were in max protection. They gave him the extra second and a half, which he needed. And again, costly mistake by the receiver.
So with the 4th down and 7 and the ball at the Washington Lee 47-yard line, Ben Brown will come out to kick it away for the Tigers. Montgomery Owen standing at his own 10-yard line. The snap's a good one. The Generals do bring pressure, but Brown gets it away. A low line drive spiraling kick that bounces at the 15, takes a Suwanee Tiger hop, and goes out of bounds at the Washington Lee 10-yard line, and that's where the Generals offense will go to work, leading by 6 here in the first quarter. Well, it's been fairly back and forth, Wayne, here early on. Neither offense getting much going, except when Trey Lachlan was in the ball game and completed that long pass to Montgomery Owen. He's back in at quarterback now.
Yeah, I think with that opened up a lot, especially on offense. But we've been seeing on both sides of the ball, they'll have several offensive plays that are for positive, and then costly mistakes or bad play calling at the end of the drive.
Lachlan at quarterback. He'll fake the handoff to Sherman, keeps it himself, running the quarterback keeper off right tackle. This time well played by the Tiger defense up front as they flatlined him along the defensive line, and Lachlan only able to pick up about 2 or 3 yards on that carry.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if we can keep the hot hand going into the series coming in. Like I said, that big pass play downfield, and again, we walked it in for 6.
2nd down and about 7 upcoming. 1:55 to play in the first quarter. Lachlan from the shotgun. Owen comes in deep motion. They'll hand it off to Sherman and carry the option fake out to the left as Sherman runs up the middle for a gain of about 3. We'll bring up a 3rd down. We'll call it 4 yards from our vantage point as we go under 1:30 to play in the first quarter. 3rd and 2 will now officially say with the ball spotted as Lachlan barks out the signals from the shotgun. Sherman checks his wristband. Now we'll line up to the left of the sophomore quarterback. Handoff is to Sherman. He'll run off the right guard's inside hip, and it looks like the senior running back will have a 1st down for the Generals. So Washington and Lee going back to their bread and butter that time. You saw a little triple option, a little double option, and with Sherman running the ball effectively, a 1st down for the blue and white.
I think with Lachlan, it opens up a lot in terms of what we're trying to do on offense. We know that he's a threat with airing it out, even though likely he's not going to do it, but we know that the threat is there. So, again, that's going to keep the defense on their toes.
McDonald at the left slot back position. Montgomery Owen at the right slot back position. Trey Lachlan operates as the quarterback. Speed sweep to the left side of the formation as Montgomery Owen gets the handoff. Owen gets up to about the 25-yard line before he's stood up by a slew of Tigers. On the stop that time was Jackson Menifee, the linebacker for Suwanee.
Yeah, I'm interested to see here also a second advantage. We'll see if we can try to get in the hurry up. We saw the success we saw in the last two drives, especially when we had it going when we went in the hurry up.
2nd down and 6 upcoming after that 4-yard carry. The Generals may be content to let this one come to the end of the quarter, but it looks like they'll get to the line of scrimmage as there is a 2-second differential between the play and game clock. The sophomore quarterback barking out the signals. He'll turn, hands it to Sherman. Sherman running up the middle. This time well played by the Tigers. Making the initial hit and slowing down his progress was number 78, Warren Matthews for Suwannee, and that's going to bring us to the end of the first quarter. So at the end of one, it's Washington and Lee 6, Suwannee 0. We'll take a break and be back with more action. You're listening to Generals Football on 91.5 FM WLUR Lexington.
I couldn't even imagine myself without a cigarette. I was like up to 2 packs a day.
1-800-QUIT now.
I just decided to call and see what it was about and see how they could help. They're there for you. I got stressed out and I picked up a cigarette, so I called the counselor and they told me that, it happens. Sometimes it takes a few tries. Nobody's perfect. Even if you quit, they're still there if you need them. If you're really serious about quitting, call.
Call 1-800-QUIT NOW, a public service of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and this station.
At the football game, Jim shows the telltale signs of being wasted. He starts flexing for the camera. He refers to his muscles as gunboats. He screams, "How's this for a halftime show?" Jim streaks the field.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many to drive. But what if you've had just one too many to drive? Never underestimate just a few. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
And welcome back to Suwannee, Tennessee. As we flip sides of the field, the Generals will be going left to right here in quarter 2 on your radio dial. Suwannee right to left. The Washington and Lee leading the University of the South by a score of 6-0. As the Generals come out of the end of the quarter with a 3rd down and 4, ball at the Washington and Lee 28-yard line. Trey Lachlan is still the quarterback. Colin Sherman offset to his right. Handoff is to Sherman. He'll run up the middle. And well played by the Tiger defensive line. It looks like Sherman will only pick up 1 yard on the carry.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we're getting that push up front that we had in the last couple drives we had. Maybe the offensive coordinator needs to have a talk with our linemen right now. But like I said, that's the key to success. Get the push up front. Let Sherman do his thing.
So Bo Sheridan will come on for the second time today. His first punt today traveled 43 yards. Generals won the time of possession battle in quarter 1 with a total of 8 minutes and 37 seconds. The Suwannee's 6 minutes and 23 seconds. We'll give you more first quarter statistics in just a moment as Sheridan will kick this one away. An end-over-end kick that travels all the way to the 25-yard line. It'll be fielded that time by William Phillips. Phillips on the move. He had a good return the last time, called back due to a holding penalty. This time there is a flag on the play as Phillips is tackled at the 35-yard line.
Yeah, I think this one's coming back as well. I think it looked like from this angle it might have been another hold on the Tigers.
And based on who the officials are talking to, I believe you are correct. Let's see what the official call is. This time it's a block in the back on the Tigers.
Again, these costly mistakes, especially on special teams for both sides of the ball. I mean, the last kick return, they went back almost 33 yards.
So a 10-yard penalty from the spot. And so that'll put Suwannee starting at its own 27-yard line. 14:05 to play in quarter number 2. It's Washington and Lee 6, Suwannee 0. If you're just joining us, a lot of young Generals in the defensive secondary today due to a team rules violation that has a number of players inactive for today's contest. But thus far, the Generals' defense has done very well. Suwannee with a total of 74 offensive yards in the first half. No points on the board. And just 1 of 4 on 3rd down conversions. So a description of the penalty, and now they'll re-walk it off, a 10-yard penalty from the end of the run. And so Swanee's field position moves from the 27 now to the 24. So 1st and 10 for the Tigers from their 24-yard line. A split end slot and wing back to the left side of the offensive formation. Play action pass, and Darris fires to the outside on the right side to his lone man there. It was number 85, Alan Puri, the junior, who has the reception and a first down out across the Suwanee 40 to the 41-yard line.
Yeah, I think like that, plays like that will get the Tigers going. Again, another missed tackle by General.
The Tigers hurry to the line of scrimmage. In the backfield this time is number 26, Malik Santiago. The handoff is fake to Santiago, and then it's Darris firing and finding number 8, Sam Hearn, the converted quarterback who's now at tight end with the reception. A first down in Washington and Lee territory down to the 45-yard line. Darris from the shotgun. Bubble screen to the left side of the formation. It's complete to McCullough, and McCullough running towards the Suwanee bench picks up about 6 yards on the reception, and it will bring up a 2nd down and 4.
Hey, Andy, right now it looks like the Tigers are going with the hurry up as well. Again, they're going to keep the Generals on their heels right now, especially the success with the hurry up offense.
2nd down and 4, 2 receivers to either side of the formation. Santiago offset to Darris's left. He'll fake it to Santiago, fires over the middle. It's complete to McCullough in the seam between the General defenders. He'll have another first down tackled at the Washington and Lee 25-yard line.
The freshman linebacker, Andros, he was there to meet it. He just missed an opportunity for an interception.
Dean Johnson on the stop for the Generals, but it brings up 1st and 10 for the Tigers. Empty backfield this time. 3 receivers to the right side, 2 to the left. Santiago comes in cross motion. The handoff is fake to him. Darris will keep it and run up the middle. He'll gain 3 yards on the quarterback keeper.
I'm starting to notice here a trend on this offensive series. They're continuing to exploit the middle of the field. That's where they're getting a lot of their success. I think
the Generals with a mass defensive line substitution, bringing in 3 fresh down linemen for the 2nd down and 7. Ball at the Washington and Lee 22-yard line. Even set, 2 receivers to either side of the formation. Handoff is to Santiago, running off left tackle, and Santiago will carry for a gain of 3. On the stop for Washington and Lee that time was number 75, Trip Callahan. Andrew Frailer was there as well for the blue and white. Brings up, we'll call it a 3rd down and 4. 2 receivers to either side of the formation. The offense's wide side is the right side. Santiago lines up to that side of Darris as the quarterback with a 2-step drop out of shotgun. Lofts one for the end zone and misses his intended receiver. Just overthrew his guy, Colin May, who had broken open on the flag route.
I think that's miscommunication on defense because we saw that Matt Dodson was way out of position. He had no safety help over the top. That may be a freshman mistake, especially because we have freshmen in the safety position today. So, again, that's a communication error right there.
So 4th down and 4. Ball spotted at the Washington and Lee 19 on the near side hash. The kicking team, and Michael Jacobs comes out for the Tigers. Converted on 58% of his field goals last week, a perfect 3 of 3 in week 1, and he booms this one through the uprights.
No good.
Oh, no good.
No
From my angle, it looked good, but it looks like it's ruled wide left. He certainly kicked it hard enough.
Yeah, he did. He had all the leg in the world. He just pulled it to the left. Again, so we talked about the breaks that we're getting here on defense. That last play before the attempted kick, that was the break that we needed, because other than that, that would have been 6 points for the Tigers.
Well, a bend but don't break defensive strategy, I guess you can call it, as Jacobs misses the field goal. And so Washington and Lee's offense will come back out on the field. 1st and 10 for the Generals. Drew Richardson back in at quarterback. Josh Brees in a pistol-like formation behind him. Generals will run the quarterback keeper to the left side. Richardson's going to be snuffed out in the backfield, and Drew Richardson will be dropped for a loss. Coming to make the tackle was number 32, Tristan Fuller, for the Tigers.
Again, the quarterback right there in that last play, he had literally nowhere to go. Everyone, just a sea of purple surrounding him, so I'm surprised he didn't try to throw that ball away.
The officials mark forward progress at the line of scrimmage, so 2nd down and 10 for the Generals. They'll run the speed option to the left side. Richardson keeps it once again. This time he finds a seam behind the left tackle, and Drew Richardson rumbles for 11 yards and a Washington and Lee first down. So the Generals offense trying to get something going, leading 6-0 with 11:14 left in the second quarter. Drew Richardson runs the option to the left side once again, finds a seam on the keeper. He'll run for 9 yards, but a flag at the snap of the ball. It's got to be an illegal formation once again on the Generals. It looked like maybe the tight end was too far in the backfield.
Yeah, again, these are things we were talking about, these mental mistakes. So again, we were driving in a big gain by Richardson that last play, but again, knocking us back a few more yards. It's been almost virtually impossible for us to get a good offensive rhythm going.
So as the officials sorted out, the referee will turn his microphone on. And in fact, we were wrong. It looked like to me that number 41 for the Generals, the young sophomore tight end Alex Heap, was too far in the backfield, but it's going to be offside on Swanee. The Generals will decline the penalty, and it brings up a 2nd down and 1. 2nd and 1. Ball on the far side hash. Richardson on the left side. Option keeper once again. Well played by the Swanee front line, and Richardson is stopped at the line of scrimmage. On the stop for Swanee was my favorite name on the roster, number 42, JoJo Matlock. That's a football name if you've ever heard one.
Yeah, it is. Especially Jim. We got Jimmy Johnson on the team as well. Unfortunately, he's not out here with us, but again, 2 strong football names on this roster.
3rd and 1 upcoming for the Generals. Offense's wide side is the right side. Handoff is to Josh Brees, the sophomore running back, and Brees will have a first down as he gets across the Washington and Lee 45 and is stopped at the 46-yard line. We go under 10 minutes to play in the first half. It's Washington and Lee 6, Swanee 0. Kobe Kirkland, the first-year quarterback that the coaches are very high on, comes out to line up at receiver for the Generals. They talk about him having a great talent, very fast, and has a good arm. But it's Drew Richardson, the junior, taking the snap at quarterback. He'll run the option to the right side, keeps it himself, and runs inside for a gain of 2.
Yeah, I thought we were going to see a little Philly special on that last play, especially at the quarterback lining up to be a receiver. Right now, we can see we're taking our time getting the play call in. Again, I think we should start going the up tempo as we continue to move the ball downfield with all these positive offensive plays.
2nd down and 8. And before the play can get off, a false start on the Generals. Back to Kobe Kirkland for just a moment. The first year from Duncan, Oklahoma. A good friend of WLUR, Jake Trotter, was texting with members of the Washington and Lee staff. Jake, being based in Oklahoma, said this quarterback was an unbelievable high school quarterback, and he's excited to see what he can do at the collegiate level. But right now, with the Generals with so much depth at quarterback, Kirkland finds himself lining up at the wide receiver position. And he'll come out to the right side of the formation after the penalties assessed. It's 2nd down and 13 for the blue and white. Ball at the Washington and Lee 43-yard line. Owen comes in deep motion. They'll fake the handoff to Brees, and Richardson will look to keep it himself. And Richardson has nowhere to go. Well read by Swanee's number 78, Warren Matthews, the freshman, with a great defensive play.
Yeah, again, we're talking about offensive rhythm, how it's been lack thereof for the first half of this game, and was coming into the game from that. So, like I said, the offense continues to struggle in terms of getting a consistent rhythm going. Again, we see a lot of great plays here, but again, we continue to bite ourselves once we get further downfield.
So 3rd and 13, Richardson rolling out to pass, rolls to his right, lofts one deep down the field looking for Kirkland, and the ball carries him out of bounds. He had position on the smaller defensive back, Wesley Porter, but Richardson couldn't keep the ball in bounds, and that'll make it 4th down and bring the punting unit out onto the field.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting play call in that last one. That's why didn't quite see anyone open on that last play. But again, maybe they saw something we didn't.
Well, Kirkland is 6 foot and looked like he had some athletic ability out on the outside, where Wesley Porter only 5'9", so you've got at least a height advantage there. Nonetheless, Bo Sheridan will come on to kick this one away for Washington and Lee, 2 punts today for a total of 89 yards. Here's the third one, a line drive spiraling kick that'll be fielded, or excuse me, will bounce at the 15. It looked like William Phillips was going to field it on the hop, a la a shortstop, but instead lets it go. It takes a Washington and Lee bounce and approaches the 10-yard line, officially out of bounds at the Suwannee 12.
Yeah, this has been a complete battle of field position this entire first half of this ball game. So we're going to see if the Tigers try to go again with that up-tempo offense they saw success with the last drive. Unfortunately, they walked away with a missed field goal opportunity, but again, they had it going on that last drive.
8 minutes to play before the end of the first half. It's Washington and Lee 6, Suwannee 0. As Alex Darris brings his offense back out onto the field. 1st and 10 from the Suwannee 12. Offense's wide side is the left side of the formation. 2 receivers go that direction, 2 receivers to the other side. As Darris drops back to pass, looking over the middle, lofts one for his man. It was McCullough, and he overthrows McCullough in coverage that time for Washington and Lee was Davis Waldrop, the junior safety.
Again, that's great coverage by the true freshman.
Well, Waldrop and Johnson, the junior and first-year players. Johnson, the first year back there at the safety positions on this defensive series for the blue and white. Matt Dodson, the right side corner. And Owen Roberts, the first year playing the left side corner currently. 2nd down and 10 upcoming for the Tigers. 2 receivers to the left side of the formation. As the handoff goes inside to the tailback, who was offset to the left side of Darris. And Philip Davis on the stop. We'll have to shape out who got the carry, and it looks like it was Warren Holland, the junior, who was back in the ball game at the tailback position with the carry. Gain of 1 as it brings up 3rd down and 9. Quickly to the line of scrimmage are the Tigers. And Darris with a nice completion to the outside to number 85, Alan Puri, the junior who breaks a tackle on the outside, the tackle of Roberts, and picks up a 1st down.
Again, the tackling is another thing, probably another halftime adjustment they need to clean up. But again, they're seeing a lot of success with them throwing the ball. They can't really do much running it. Our front four have been in the backfield, so again, I think they're going to test their secondary.
1st and 10, ball at the Suwannee 27. Bubble screen to the left side of the formation. It's complete to McCullough. This time well played by Washington and Lee's number 14, Chris Elliott. And Elliott able to make the tackle after a gain of just 2 yards.
Yeah, just sea of white jerseys on that screenplay with 22, the true freshman coming in to clean up. They clean up on the last hit of that reception. So, again, that's what we want to see on defense, urgency to the ball.
Elliott playing that slot nickel corner position. He's a bigger corner. Now he shows blitz on this 2nd down and 8. Quarterback keeper for Darris. He'll run straight up the gut. And Darris looks to be about 1 yard shy of a Tiger 1st down.
Yeah, right now the Tigers continue to exploit our middle of the field. They have a lot of success in the quarterback drive as well as throwing the ball in the middle of the field. So, again, that may be a void that we need to adjust in the second half in terms of fixing the gap in the middle of the field. 3rd
down and 1. Handoff is to Holland, and Holland with a great second effort to pick up a Tiger 1st down as he was met in the backfield that time by Washington and Lee's number 53, Riley Bartlett, but Bartlett just unable to hold Holland from outstretching for the 1st down.
Tigers again once going with the hurry-up offense on this drive.
Darris back to pass, fakes the handoff, ducks under the first rusher. Now he's going to be hit by 2 generals as coming in for the sack was Andrew Frailer, and then Will Corey comes in to help clean it up.
So, again, we keep talking about the success we're having on the front end of that ball, the defensive line. They cannot move the ball with running the ball. They're going to have to air it out if they want to see success on this drive.
Defensive coordinator Brendan O'Brien dialing up the blitzes here as we go under 5:45 to play in the first half. It's Washington and Lee 6, Suwannee 0. Live in Suwannee, Tennessee, a beautiful day for football. 2nd down and 14 upcoming for the Tigers. Ball at their 34-yard line. Handoff is to Warren Holland, the junior, and he'll gain the 4 yards that were lost back. Brings up 3rd down and 10.
Yeah, again, another 3rd and long situation, so we should be expecting to see another long pass downfield.
Suwannee brings in a few more wide receivers for this 3rd down and 10. Ball on the near side hash. The wide side is the right side, and 3 receivers go that direction for junior quarterback Alex Darris. He's got a single split end on the left side. Darris back to pass, looking right, steps up into the pocket, fires, it's complete. On the reception is Puri, and Alan Purry with a first down in Washington and Lee territory.
Again, they're picking on the true freshman, Dean Johnson, on that side of the field. Again, he's there to meet the coverage, but he's just a step or two too late on these receptions by the Tigers receivers.
Ball spotted at the Generals 49. Handoff is to Warren Holland on 1st and 10, and he'll run it right up the middle. Gains 2 yards on the carry. Brings up 2nd down and 8. On the tackle that time was Phil Davis for the Generals. Washington and Lee subbing in some new defensive linemen as we go under 4:25 to play in the first half. 2nd and 8 upcoming. Ball on the far side hash. Offense's wide side is the left side. 3 receivers go that direction. Darris looks that way, and it's complete to his tight end number 47, Daniel Armar. Armar will pick up about 4 on the carry, brings up on the reception, brings up 3rd down and 5.
It looks like we got an injured player in the field, number 47 from the Tigers.
That's Daniel Armar, who just made the reception after being tackled at the Washington Lee 44. Slow to get up, training staff out to attend to him.
Yeah, Dean Johnson came in, he laid the wood on him. It was an excellent hit. Let's see, hopefully he's all right. Hopefully he's got the wind knocked out of him in that last play.
Football team captains from years past.
Well, with the break in the action, we'll take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard. Division I, with 6:02 to play in the 4th quarter, it's Wisconsin on top of New Mexico by the score of 38-14. With 13:16 left in the 4th quarter, it's Mississippi State leading Kansas State by the score of 31-10. Michigan, after a loss last week to Notre Dame, on top of Western Michigan by the score of 42-0. At halftime, it's Oklahoma on top of UCLA by the score of 21-7. And Daniel Armar is up and walking off under his own power, which is always a good sign, so we hope for a speedy recovery for the Tiger. But it will be 3rd down and 5 upcoming for the Tigers as both teams retake the field. Generals lead 6-0, 4:01 to play before halftime. 2 receivers to either side of the formation in tight to the offensive line. Ball is on the near side hash. Offense's wide side is the right side. Darris back to pass, steps up in the pocket, and he has nowhere to go. Will Corey coming on the blitz from his linebacker position, able to pull him down for the sack.
Excellent read by the linebacker. He's there. Miami came in untouched. The quarterback did not stand a chance on the last play. I was curious to see if they continue to exploit the inexperience we have in that secondary. But again, a lot of help from the front four as well as our linebacking core on this last defensive series.
So after the sack, it makes it 4th and 11. And out comes Ben Brown, the punter, for the Tigers. Montgomery Owen back to return for the Generals, standing around his own 15. Brown with a spiraling kick that Owen will catch on the run at about the 12. Breaks 1 tackle but can't escape the pressure coming from Swanee's number 34, Emmanuel Adusanya, on the special teams coverage.
Yeah, excellent coverage by the Tigers unit. Right now, unfamiliar territories, starting off with the ball late. Deep in our side of the field. I think this is probably the worst field position we've seen all game, Andy.
For Washington and Lee, though, 3 minutes and 12 seconds, a lot of time when you're running an option offense to march down the field, try to put points on the board before halftime because Swanee will be receiving the second half kick.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to go up-tempo to march down the field. Again, we got to mitigate simple mistakes, including the penalties that have hurt us in the first half of the ball game.
Trey Lachlan in at quarterback. He'll run speed option to the right side. His pitch man is Sherman. Now Lachlan keeps it, cuts it back upfield, and gets across the 20, knocked down at the 21-yard line. A gain of 7 on the carry brings up 2nd down and 3.
So again, we're going by quarterback by committee again. It's like, which quarterback has the hot hand?
Well, they're rotating series, too. I mean, in a rushing offense like this, when you're running the ball 50, 60 times a game, essentially the quarterback's another runner, and you just don't want the quarterback taking that many hits. And so that allows head coach Garrett LaRose to spread them out as Lachlan on the quarterback option to the right side once again picks up a Washington and Lee first down and gets across the 30 out to the 31-yard line.
We got another injured Tiger on the field. Looks like number 5.
So injury timeout as Jackson Menifee, it looks like, down on the field. And so with that break in the action, we'll go back to our Division I scoreboard and pick it up where we left off. Virginia Tech leading William & Mary by the score of 17-0, 13-18 to play in the second quarter. Oregon is up on Portland State by the score of 14-0 with 12:32 to play before halftime. And, of course, some big games coming your way later today, Wayne. I know you're excited for Georgia, South Carolina, the matchup of the number 3 team and the number 24 team in the AP poll. How do you see that one unfolding?
I think this year South Carolina, they stand a really good chance to upset the number 3 Bulldogs coming into this game. Again, Georgia coming off a high from being in that national title game. Unfortunately, they weren't able to hold on to that second half, but both teams have a lot of great personnel coming back in terms of Muschamp also coaching against his alma mater. Yeah,
Will Muschamp, the 1-6 against his alma mater. How does Justin Fields for Georgia, the first-year quarterback, factor in for the Bulldogs?
The Bulldogs, they have a lot of returners in key positions. So, again, their defensive unit, that's the one they're going to keep them in the game. And obviously they have great quarterback in Fromm coming back this season. The run game is always super explosive. So, again, Kirby Smart coming in with probably one of the best units in college football for this matchup.
So Menifee is up on his feet and walks off the field under his own power. 1st and 10 for the Generals as we get back to action here in Suwanee, Tennessee. Ball at the Washington and Lee 31-yard line. Under 2:33 to play before halftime. It's Trey Lachlan on the speed option to the left side of the formation. He'll keep it himself, picks up 8 yards on the carry.
Right now it looks like the Generals are going to hurry up as well.
And they'll need to as the clock ticks under 12:15 to play before halftime. 2nd down and 2 upcoming for Washington and Lee. Ball spotted at the Generals' 39-yard line. Lachlan back to pass. He'll roll to his right, looking downfield. Lofts one, has a man open. It's Owen. Montgomery Owen with the catch, tiptoeing the sideline, still on his feet, finds his way all the way in for the touchdown. For a moment, it looked like he was going to step out of bounds inside the 20.
Excellent.
But some twinkle toes by Montgomery Owen, and the Generals put 6 more points on the board.
Outstanding body control by the young receiver. He was wide open downfield, no one around. Perfect throw, put him right on the numbers. Again, that's exactly what we need going into this second half of the game. So, again, we're building momentum. We still have plenty of time left in this half, at minute 52, so if we can do a quick 3 now, maybe we can come into a 3-score opportunity going into the half.
Trey Lachlan showing off his arm. A 62-yard touchdown reception by Montgomery Owen puts the Generals up 12-0 with the extra point upcoming. Jarrett Wright missed his first extra point attempt of the day. Lachlan is the holder. The snap's a good one. The ball is down, and the kick is up. And this time it's good. So with 1:52 to play before halftime, it's Washington and Lee 13, Suwanee 0. We'll keep it right here. I like what Trey Lachlan's doing at quarterback, Wayne. He seems to be running the option very well, able to get to the outside. But what's really separated him from Drew Richardson today for the Generals is the fact that he's able to loft the deep ball with accuracy.
Yeah, I think he looks very comfortable back there. He has great protection. He's finding the open receivers. The last big plays that he's thrown downfield is that the receivers been wide open. Unfortunately, the Tigers secondary have been able to pick up on that first drive. We was able to get that big completion downfield, looked great, and I think they went ahead and saw the success, and they went ahead and caught that play again.
Well, Lachlan on the day, 2 of 2, 99 yards, 1 touchdown passing. He's also carried the ball 5 times for 39 yards, averaging 7.8 yards per carry. He's the leading rusher right now for the Generals.
Yeah, I'm interested to see in terms of personnel if he can come in to start the second half. In terms of, again, we're talking about having the hot hand coming back in, keep the offense going, so not flat, and also give a time for our defense to continue to catch their breaths because they've been putting in the work for the first half of the game.
I suspect we'll continue to see the quarterback rotation for head coach Garrett LaRose. As Jarrett Wright tees this ball up, it's a kickoff that'll travel all the way back to the 3. It's Micah Mays on the return. He'll bring it out to the left side towards the Suwanee bench and will get across the 20 and is dragged down at the Suwanee 26-yard line. On the tackle that time for Washington and Lee was the junior Logan Brand on special teams coverage. And so with 1:44 to play before halftime, the Tigers offense that is very dangerous and can throw the football certainly could still put up points and look for the 2-for-1 swing because the Tigers will be receiving the second half kickoff.
Absolutely. I think they're going to try to take advantage of it with the momentum going into the second half. Obviously, it looks like they're finally starting to click and put it all together, all 3 units on the field. So, again, this is a great base going into the second half.
So a play clock malfunction now. fixed as we go 1st and 10 for the Tigers. Ball at the Suwannee 25-yard line. Darris back to pass, play action, steps up in the pocket, looking deep downfield, really airing this ball out. What an arm, and he overthrows his intended receiver, Cyrus McCullough. McCullough had double coverage down the field as Dean Johnson was there for the Generals, as was number 24, Owen Roberts. But, wow, what an arm by Darris.
Yeah, great throw downfield, but again, he's getting met every time with the outside linebacker. Andrew Fraley's been Johnny on the spot. He's been in his face the entire game.
2nd down and 10 upcoming for the Tigers. Ball still on the near side hash. Offense's wide side is the right side. 2 receivers go that direction. 2 receivers to the left side of the formation as well. Warren Holland joins his junior quarterback in the backfield. Quick hitch route to the left side. It's complete to number 80. That's Andrew Shower, the junior, and he'll catch it for a gain of 9.
Yeah, that you saw they came in with that corner blitz. They came in just short on that. I wish 31 would have played just a little closer on that read, but again, the clock is running for the Tigers, and they really need to get it going.
1-step drop this time on this 3rd down and 1. Quick out route. It's complete to Colin May, and May will have a 1st down for the Tigers. Gets out of bounds, and the clock stops at 1:06 to play before halftime as the chain's set. Ball on the near side hash now. Offense's wide side is the left side. 4 receivers set, 2 to either side of the formation. As the junior quarterback drops back to pass, looking deep down the sideline, had a man open and just missed his guy. Overthrew Micah Mays, the wide receiver who had broken through the Washington and Lee defense and was wide open down the far sideline.
Yeah, I think the Tigers are still continuing like this matchup with the true freshman Dean Johnson at corner. He's shown a lot of signs of brilliance, but also there's plays where he's had complete busted coverage, young mistakes, so I think they're going to try to throw that ball on that side of the field for the rest of the game.
Especially when you have 2 first-year players in Johnson and Roberts working side by side in that defensive secondary. 2nd down and 10 upcoming. Ball at the Tiger 41 as Darris looking to air this one out, looking for Andrew Shower once again. Too high, incomplete. Matt Dodson in coverage for the blue and white brings up 3rd down and 10 with 51 seconds to play before halftime. 3rd and 10. We mentioned this in the pregame. Darris on that play seemed to be limping a little bit. He is coming off of ACL surgery a year ago, only played in 7 games in 2017 for the Tigers. Darris back to pass. 2-step drop out of shotgun. Throws to the left flat. It's complete. He's got his man. It's Purry, Alan Purry with the reception. He'll be 1 yard shy of a 1st down as the ball is spotted at midfield. And the Tigers need to get to the 49, the Washington and Lee 49. So 4th and 1 upcoming, and it looks like the Tiger offense will stay out on the field.
I think this is a great opportunity for the Generals, especially if we can get a turnover on downs in this 4th down play. We still have 43 seconds left on the clock, and that'll put us on their side of the 50. I think that'll be a great opportunity.
Head coach Garrett LaRose is going to call a timeout. He calls his defense in. If you're head coach LaRose, what are you telling your defense here? I mean, certainly the Tigers could run it and get the 1st down. Warren Holland's been successful today for the Tigers, averaging 3.2 yards per carry. But then the clock would keep running. The Tigers, though, do have 2 timeouts left. They could throw it if they complete it. Certainly that's a big play. The clock stops as the chains move, whether he's inbounds or out of bounds. And then you've got less of the field. But if it's incomplete, the clock stops and it's a turnover on downs, and you've given Washington and Lee a short field.
I think he's wanting to continue this front four to get in the face of his backfield, and also to close the gaps in the middle of the field because they've been really exploiting the middle of the field most of the game.
Well, 3 eligible receivers line up to the right side of the offensive formation. An H-back or wing-back type player directly behind the right tackle as Darris operates from the shotgun. He'll hand to Holland. Holland will run up the middle. Holland with a 1st down and more. Breaks into the 2nd level. And a touchdown-saving tackle made by Davis Waldrop. As if Waldrop didn't get his shoestrings, Holland would have been on his way for 6 points.
I think that kind of alludes back to what I was talking to, is just the middle of the field, up the gut. The Tigers have been really killing us on that type of play calling, especially the receivers and the running backs have been just going straight up the gut. On the outside, we've been able to contain, get in the face of the quarterback, but just unfortunately to the middle of the field, we have no answer for the Tigers.
Well, the Tigers burn a timeout after that 1st down, so both teams with 1 timeout remaining, 38 seconds to play before halftime. Washington and Lee leading Suwannee by the score of 13-0. Thanks for joining us for the 2nd game of the 2018 Washington and Lee football season. Last week, the Generals won by a score of 16-10 in overtime on the road in Carlisle, Pennsylvania against the Dickinson College Red Devils. The Generals on the road again this week here live in Suwanee, Tennessee, taking on the University of South Suwanee Tigers. So both teams retake the field after the timeout. 3 receivers to the right side of the offensive formation, a single split end to the left side for the Tigers as they go right to left here in the second quarter. Darris, play action, 2-step drop, fires to the left side and overthrows his man. It's picked off by Matt Dodson, and the junior's running with it down the near sideline and will step out of bounds as Matt Dodson with the interception. A late flag does come in by the line judge, thrown by the line judge after the play was over.
I think we're going to get 15 yards from this. I think might be some unsportsmanlike conduct on the Tigers sideline. Again, I'm not quite sure who 13 was thrown to. Might have been a miscommunication on the offense on that last play, but excellent play by Dodson. He was there, went straight to him, hit him right in the numbers, and great return on
Alan Puri was the intended receiver, but that time Darris airmailed the pass, and Matt Dodson in zone coverage behind, able to pick it off. An unsportsmanlike conduct called on Washington and Lee after the play. So the Generals would have had great field position. Now they'll have to back it up 15 yards, and with only 28 seconds to go before halftime, it looks like the Washington and Lee Generals will be content to go into the locker room leading by a score of 13-0.
Yeah, but again, those are the kind of penalties you can see Coach LaRose drive him nuts. And again, that'd been an extra 15 yards going to play and potentially make this a 3-possession ball game.
Now it looks like the Generals will line up in the quarterback kneel position and head to the locker room. The only time you'll see Washington and Lee go under center as Drew Richardson, the quarterback, goes under center to take a knee, and will do that. And that'll take us, or it should take us, I should say, to halftime. With the score, Washington and Lee 13, Suwanee 0. Both teams will go to the locker room. Suwanee will get the ball to start the second half. Well, coming up here at halftime, we'll take a look at the first half statistics for you. Plus, we'll take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard. But before we do any of that, our own Jeremy Franklin had the opportunity earlier this week to sit down with Washington and Lee senior volleyball player Ellie Cosgrove and get her take on the Washington and Lee volleyball season, as well as what she expects for her senior year. And here's Jeremy now with Ellie.
Jeremy Franklin joined now by Ellie Cosgrove, senior volleyball captain, also our sports director here at WLUR. Ellie, let's talk for a minute about 2017 for the Generals. 24-10 overall. You had 2 hard-fought losses against Randolph-Macon, 15-13 in the 5th set and won 16-14 in the 5th set in the ODAC championship match. Not to dredge up those memories, but those close calls against a very good Randolph-Macon team and the overall year that you had. How has that motivated the team as you come back out in 2018?
Honestly, it's really fueled our fire, the fact that we, especially us seniors, like me, Megan Miller, we've never experienced an ODAC championship win, and we've lost, at Randolph-Macon the last 3 years, whether that be to Randolph-Macon or someone else. But last year, I think it was, really hard. It was hard-fought games, and we were proud of the way we played in the championship, but it's definitely been something we've looked back to while training throughout the off season and over the summer, what is Randolph-Macon doing right now compared to what we're doing? What can we do better in the future and kind of change the narrative, obviously, this year. So I'm really excited to see them on the court this year, just because I do think we have a really strong team, and I'm sure they've been working hard too. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens. I have no idea what to expect from them or who. I know they graduated some seniors, but I don't know who's coming in for them freshman-wise. But it's definitely fueled our fire, and I mean, it was tough losses, but maybe it was a good thing in the end. We worked harder, and, it was something that we could look back to.
You didn't graduate a lot of players, but you did lose some key players. Elena West and Katie Volk as your setter and libero, another great leader in Vicky Kazmierczak. How are you, especially as one of the captains on this team, trying to replace what you did lose from 2017?
Yeah, we definitely lost. That class was super important, both leadership-wise, like you said, and on the court playing. So Vicky was a great leader, and every time we'd go into a timeout or any kind of huddle, she'd always have the perfect thing to say and the right thing to say. So the thing that I've kind of found hard is to live up to what she was able to do when we would go into these timeouts and say something to the team that was the exact right thing to say. Because now we're missing this Vicky presence. And then the other two, obviously they played a lot on the floor, and Katie Volker starting libero. That's been a position that's kind of been up for grabs this year, but we actually have a lot of DSs. I'm actually fallen into that group this year, which is interesting just because I've never been like up for the libero role. But yeah, it's me, Ashley Alley, and Kira Borthwick, and it's a really fun group. I think we're all stepping into that role, and I think he has a lot of trust in all four of us. And then Elena, she also was a huge, had a huge impact on our team, and losing her was a little tough, but she did such a great job, I guess, mentoring Molly and Anna, and they're doing a great job this season as well, and they have a lot of confidence. So as sophomores, that's nice or juniors. Wow, they're juniors now. That's crazy. So as juniors, yeah, they have a lot of confidence out there, and they've been doing a great job running their court. So I think it's going well. We did lose a lot in that class, but I think people have been stepping up into new roles, and it's been good.
Maybe one of the biggest storylines for 2018 has nothing to do with who's on the team or who's on the schedule, but rather where the Generals are playing. The Warner Center is being torn down. A new indoor facility will be built in its place. And in the meantime, the Generals are moving over to the Duchess Watt Tennis Center. We're going to see the first game action there this weekend. But how's the team adjusting to the new venue?
There's definitely been challenge. Actually, there hasn't been as many challenges as I anticipated there to be. I remember we'd be in captain's meeting, and coach was like, we need to really make sure we're being communicative next year. We're going to have to really worry about making sure we're on top of all the logistics, because who knows what challenges will come up, with the new location, DTC. But it's been a really smooth transition, and I think the athletic department could not have done a better job creating that space for us. There's just been a few kinks here and there that have had to be kind of ironed out. But other than that, it's great. The ceilings are really high. The Warner Center, that was always a challenge with the low ceilings. So I think we've only hit the ceiling maybe once or twice, which, in practice in the Warner Center would be maybe 20 times every practice. But yeah, it's been really nice, and I'm just excited to see how many people come out this weekend. I've had a lot of people come up to me where's the volleyball team playing this year? Are you at a local high school? I'm like, no, we're actually still on campus, just a short walk away at the tennis center. And yeah, so it'll be exciting to see how it fills up and if we can get a lot of people out there.
So as I mentioned at the top of the interview, you are the sports director here at WLUR, and you spend part of the fall interviewing fellow student athletes and then the rest of the year calling basketball and lacrosse games for us. What sparked your interest in sports journalism?
Honestly, I've always been super, obviously I'm a student athlete, and sports have always been a huge part of my life. And getting here to WNI, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And then I found journalism, and the journalism department here has just been really great, kind of mentoring me. And so it's been something that I've really been able to kind of combine my passion for writing and also sports. And it's been a great experience so far. Not only have I been able to interview athletes with WLUR, but the newspaper as well. I'm the sports section editor right now, but I used to be a reporter, and I still do some reporting, but just being able to connect with other student athletes and hear their story and also be able to tell it, whether people are listening or not or reading it or not. It's just something that I've really enjoyed doing, and I'm hoping after college it's something I can continue to do, because it's been something that I found that I'm really passionate about, and I found it here at WNI, and I don't think I'd be able to find it anywhere else. Just this small school environment has really allowed me to connect with other student athletes and whatnot.
Take you back to the volleyball court for the final question. It's a loaded one, but what are your expectations? Not in terms of how many wins or what's going to happen in the postseason, but what are your expectations for the Generals in 2018?
I definitely think we're going to grow as the season goes on. Obviously, this past weekend we had 4 losses and not the start we wanted, but I think we are a super deep team as far as each position. We have a lot of freshmen who are coming in who are doing a great job so far, and I'm excited to see them grow. So our goals this year is to host ODAX, and then to also win ODAX this year. So we'll see what Randolph-Macon's looking like this year, but I'm pretty confident we'll be able to beat them. And then we're hoping to make a somewhat deep NCAA run, or longer than we have in recent history. We just haven't had an NCAA run that I think we've really wanted to see recently. So hopefully that works out for us. But I'm just excited to see everyone grow into their positions, and then kind of come together as a team. We graduated those 3 seniors, but I think we're doing a great job coming back and just balling out pretty much. I mean, it's been really fun, super competitive in the gym and practice as well.
Spoken like a true captain. Ellie, thanks for your time. Best of luck throughout the fall.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And welcome back live to Suwanee, Tennessee. At halftime, it's Washington and Lee 13, Suwanee 0. Alongside Wayne Martindale, I am Andy McEnroe. The Generals, just like our broadcast, got off to a bit of a slow start. We had some technical difficulties here at the ongoing, but eventually we settled into our rhythm in the booth, and so did the Generals offense, certainly behind the arm and legs of Trey Lachlan, who is the leading rusher as well as the leading passer. Lachlan, 5 carries, 39 yards, averaging 7.8 yards per carry. He also is 2 of 2 throwing the football, 99 yards, and that long touchdown strike of 62 yards to Montgomery Owen, who has 2 catches, both catches on the day for a total of 99 yards. The other Washington and Lee touchdown on the legs of Colin Sherman. He's carried the ball 9 times for 37 yards. Wayne, when you think of the Washington and Lee's when you think of Washington and Lee's offense, what have you thought about here in the first half?
I think we've seen a lot of signs of brilliance in terms of, like you said, they got off to a slow start. We're a little worried that we're going to have a repeat from last week's performance, but again, they were getting a good rhythm going. But unfortunately, towards the end of the drive, we hit a stone wall in terms of we weren't executing the front of the ball with our offensive line, or silly penalties were costly. So. I'm really interested to see what the adjustments are going to be going into the half, especially ending the half on that brilliant drive by Trey Lachlan.
One thing I'd note in the individual stats, and we'll talk about the team stats here in just a moment, Josh Brees, only 2 carries for 7 yards in the first half. Certainly not what you'd expect from the individual that set the ODAC single-season rushing mark last year with 1,825 yards, and last week carried the ball 26 times for 122 yards. Now, last week against Dickinson, it was similar. In the first half, Brees did not have a lot of carries, but in the second half, he certainly picked it up. I would expect that head coach Garrett LaRose will go back to Josh Brees and Colin Sherman a lot more here in the second half, particularly if Washington and Lee's able to hold the lead, because they'll use their option backs to run some clock.
Yeah, again, I think just a performance from the first half, that'll open up a lot for Josh Brees. Again, it'll kind of take some of the pressure off him because of the performance that from Drew Richardson as well as Trey Lachlan and also Colin Sherman, they played well. So I think it's going to open up a lot in terms of the play calling. I think, like you said, we'll see some more opportunities for him to get the ball in the second half.
Well, taking a look at the team statistics, Washington and Lee with 236 total yards of offense, 137 of those on the ground, 99 through the air. For Suwanee, 208 yards of total offense, 169 of those through the air, 39 on the ground. In terms of conversions, the Generals 2 of 6 on third down conversions. Suwanee 5 of 11 on third down conversions. Suwanee is also a perfect 1 of 1 on fourth down conversions. But 0 for 1 in the red zone are the Tigers. 1 for 1 in terms of scoring chances in the red zone are the Generals. In terms of time of possession, which we always talk about being very important for Washington and Lee, the Generals hold the advantage 15 minutes and 22 seconds to Suwanee's 14 minutes and 38 seconds. One thing we've seen a lot of today, penalties. The Generals have been penalized 3 times for a total of 37 yards, while the Suwanee Tigers penalized 5 times for a total of 60 yards. We've mentioned briefly the individual statistics on the offensive side for the Generals. Let's talk defense here for a moment, as leading the way for Washington and Lee in terms of tackles is the first-year safety, Dean Johnson, getting the start. 3 unassisted tackles, 2 assisted tackles. Davis Waldrop also with 5 total tackles. Will Corey with 5 total tackles, including 1.5 sacks already registered to his name, and Riley Bartlett with 4 tackles for the blue and white. For Suwanee on the individual side, starting first with the offensive statistics, Warren Holland leading the way in the backfield, 44 yards on 10 carries. 44 carries would be pretty impressive in itself in the first half, but 10 carries, 40 carry. Alex Darris, the junior quarterback, 169 yards through the air, 16 of 26 with 1 interception as well. His leading receiver in the first half was number 86, Cyrus McCullough. He hauled in 5 catches for a total of 68 yards. Alan Puri with 4 catches for 54 yards. Sam Hearn with a catch for 14 yards. Defensively for the Tigers, leading the way for the Suwanee defense was Phillips with 6 tackles, Antoine with 5 tackles, Matthews with 5 tackles, and Pierce Johnson with 4 tackles. Holistically, what adjustments, if you're head coach Garrett LaRose, are you making with your team here at halftime as you get set to come out for the second half of this contest?
Well, as we talked about the first half, we talked a lot about the middle of the field. The Tigers were able to gouge us the entire time. So a lot of their success, their positive plays were in the middle of the field, whether it be rushing up the gut, post route up the field. So I think that with that adjustment outside the ball, because the outside of the ball and the so like I said, I think offense, they got it down pat. We
call and see what's about and see how they could help for you. I got stressed out. I picked up a cigarette, so I called the counselor, and they told me that, it happens. Sometimes it takes a few tries. Nobody's perfect. Even if you quit, they're still there if you need them. If you're really serious about quitting, call.
Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW, a public service of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and this station.
Global warming is here. The effects may seem slight now,
but in a few decades, they could be massive. Heat waves, floods, and food shortages. What can we do? We can join together. Because when many unite as one,
we can achieve anything.
Together, we're powerful. Find out how we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution. Go to fightglobalwarming.com. Brought to you by Environmental Defense, the Robertson Foundation, and the Ad Council.
At the football game, Jim shows the telltale signs of being wasted. He starts flexing for the camera. He refers to his muscles as gunboats. He screams, "How's this for a halftime show?" Jim streaks the field.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many to drive. But what if you've had just one too many to drive? Nation, the Ad Council, and this station.
Years from retirement.
Floods don't happen here.
This chest pain is just a little indigestion.
This isn't a flood zone, right?
People have an amazing ability to deny obvious risks, like flooding. Yet floods happen in all 50 states. Fortunately, it's easy to find out your risk. Just visit floodsmart.gov or call 1-888-RAIN-022. Brought to you by the National Flood Insurance Program.
I need answers to my tax questions. Where can I find them?
Need answers? Try our interactive tax assistant on irs.gov/ITA. Simply select your tax questions, provide your information, and it gives you answers. Also, check our Help and Resources page and try our online tax map. 5,000 tax topics from A to Z. Plus, you can access forms, publications in a variety of formats.
Doc, remember me?
Not now, Trig. Hi, I'm Dr. Donica Moore. You've heard about good and bad cholesterol, but how about triglycerides?
Keep me under 150.
Normal triglycerides are under 150. High triglycerides increase risk of heart disease. For women, that risk goes up even more.
150.
The forgotten fat triglyceride needs attention. So please ask your doctor about the forgotten fat triglycerides. For more information, go to forgottenfat.com. A message from Sister to Sister, working together for healthy hearts.
And welcome back to Suwanee, Tennessee, Harris Stadium for Washington and Lee football on 91.5 FM, WLUR Lexington, alongside Wayne Martindale. I am Andy McEnroe. The Generals lead the Tigers at halftime by a score of 13-0. How they got here? Well, let me tell you. In the first quarter with 9:59 to play, Colin Sherman with a 1-yard touchdown run to make it 6-0, capping off a 7-play, 73-yard drive. Jared Wright missed the point after touchdown, so it stayed at 6-0. And then with 1:52 to play before halftime, it was Montgomery Owen on the receiving end of a 62-yard touchdown pass off the arm of Trey Lachlan, with capping off a 4-play, 87-yard drive to make it 13-0. And that's where we stand at the break. Wayne, we talked about what adjustments Washington and Lee needs to make. What about what Suwanee wants to do here coming into the second half?
They need to get some better protection on the outside. That's where they're getting beat every time, on the outside of the ball in terms of the linebackers coming in. The quarterbacks Darius has had no time to do anything. The time when they go max protection, he's able to make the throw, but unfortunately it's a little rushed. So their success has been throwing the ball. Unfortunately, they have not been able to move the ball in terms of the run game. So in terms of that adjustment, I think they're going to continue to try to throw the ball downfield. He just needs time to throw.
Well, taking a look at the out-of-town scoreboard now, from the ODAC perspective, the only game we've got stats on right now, Christopher Newport leading Hampton-Sydney by the score of 17-13 with 9:48 to play in the fourth quarter. Other ODAC games coming your way later tonight, or I should say non-conference ODAC games. Averett taking on Randolph-Macon, kickoff time 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Stevenson taking on Bridgewater, kickoff time 7 p.m. Eastern Time. NC Wesleyan taking on Shenandoah. That game also at 7 p.m. And Methodist and Guilford battling in North Carolina. That game at 7 p.m. Next week, Washington and Lee has its home opener. They take on Maryville. Young Alumni Weekend, come out for that one. And, of course, we'll have live audio coverage on WLUR and the first video broadcast of the football season. Turning to the NCAA Division I out-of-town scoreboard, where most eyes are still looking to that 3:30 game and, of course, the 8 and 7 p.m. games later tonight. So we're talking about the ones that have wrapped up already today. Wisconsin defeating New Mexico by the score of 45-14. Michigan all over Western Michigan, winning 49-3. Mississippi State defeated Kansas State by the score of 31-10. Oregon leading Portland State at halftime, or I should say approaching halftime, by the score of 28-7. Virginia Tech leading William & Mary by the score of 31-7, 2:46 to play in the second quarter. And in the third quarter with 6:30 to play, it's Oklahoma, the number 6 team in the nation, on top of UCLA by the score of 28-7. We talked about the big matchup coming your way at 3:30 between Georgia and South Carolina. But, Wayne, there's another big matchup, or at least two big matchups tonight, and we'll start first with Clemson, Texas A&M, a 7 p.m. kickoff. Jimbo Fisher, the new head coach for Texas A&M, looking for a statement win. Can he accomplish that tonight against Clemson?
And unfortunately, during Jimbo's tenure, he had a lot of success over there at Florida State, but his arch nemesis has been Dabo Swinney. I mean, they're going to be in College Station. It's going to be a night game, and I think a lot of things, especially the crowd presence in College Station at Kyle Field, but I don't think so. I don't see it. I think the first year coming in with his recruits, I think he's got a lot of talent on that team, but just Clemson's D-line is just the best in the country. No one can stop those guys.
A ranked matchup comes your way at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. USC, Stanford. Can you preview that one for the fans?
SC's obviously they're missing Sam Darnold. He's now going to be the starting quarterback for the New York Jets. So that's always an interesting matchup because you can go either way. SC's been leading in that series, but I think the Stanford Cardinal, in terms of Bryce Love coming back, he's a lot of firepower to that offense. So I think the Stanford Cardinal is going to walk away with that one.
Well, we're going to take a 30-second timeout. When we come back, the kickoff of the second half. You're listening to Generals Football on 91.5 FM, WLUR Lexington, and online, WLUR All Access, powered by First Team Broadcasting.
Global warming is here. The effects may seem slight now,
but in a few decades, they could be massive. Heat waves, floods, and food shortages. What can we do? We can join together. Because when many unite as one,
we can achieve anything.
Together, we're powerful. Find out how we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution. Go to fightglobalwarming.com. Brought to you by Environmental Defense, the Robertson Foundation, and the Ad Council.
At the football game, Jim shows the telltale signs of being wasted. He starts flexing for the camera. He refers to his muscles as gunboats. He screams, "How's this for a halftime show?" Jim streaks the field.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many to drive. But what if you've had just one too many to drive? Never underestimate just a few. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
Welcome back to Suwanee, Tennessee, the University of the South, and Harris Stadium for Washington and Lee football on 91.5 FM, WLUR Lexington. Alongside Wayne Martindale, I am Andy McEnroe. We get you set for the second half. There's a fresh 15 minutes on the clock as the Generals and Tigers get set to start the third quarter. Washington and Lee will be going left to right on your radio dial here in quarter number 3. Suwanee right to left. The Generals won the toss. They elected to receive to start the first half, so the Tigers will get the ball to start the second half. Jarrett Wright has the ball teed up for Washington and Lee at the Washington and Lee 35, and he'll hit a line drive end-over-end kick that Mays lets bounce at the 2 and rolls into the end zone for a touchback. So we begin the second half with Suwanee trailing by 13. But the Tiger offense had a lot of bright spots. They moved the ball through the air. We mentioned it at halftime, 169 total passing yards in the first half. But Alex Darius missing long on a couple of open receivers that probably could have resulted in points for the Tigers, and one of them resulted in a turnover as Matt Dodson picked it off for Washington and Lee. Now the junior quarterback will look to turn the tides here in the second half. Darius from the shotgun, 4 wide receiver set, 2 to either side of the formation as the team starts at the 25-yard line. Handoff is to Warren Holland, the junior tailback, to start the second half, and he'll rumble forward for 5 yards to bring up 2nd down and 5.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about that. Well, again, Andrew Frailer's been all over the place in Darius' face the entire game, so I think if they can try to protect him here.
Sam Murphy made the stop on 1st down. Now here on 2nd down and 5, a quick RPO run-pass option as Darius fires to the outside, completes to Colin May, picks up 4 on the reception, brings up 3rd down, and we'll call it less than 1 from where the ball is spotted. Ball at the 39. Tigers need to get to the 40. RPO to the right side, and this time Darius short hops his intended receiver. He was looking to the right side, bubble screen for Cyrus McCullough, and just short-armed it and one-hopped it to his man.
Yeah, again, I think a lot has to do with that pressure coming to the game. He had his man Cyrus wide open on that last play, the bubble screen. That could have been an easy 1st down for the Tigers.
So now with 4th down and less than 1, the punting team and Ben Brown come out onto the field. Brown 4 punts in the first half, averaging 31.8 yards per punt. Generals bring the rush, and they get there. The punt is blocked. It's picked up by Washington and Lee's Logan Brand and run in for a touchdown. The Generals brought 5 people right up the middle. They blocked the punt, and Logan Brand picks it up and runs it in for a touchdown.
Oh, you see it's a sea of white in that backfield. Literally, Logan Brand came in.
So they dial up the pressure on special teams, and they didn't catch, and our spotters are telling us that it was Alex Cantrell coming through to block the punt for the blue and white. So Washington and Lee up 19-0. Here comes the extra point off the foot of Jarrett Wright, and this one he banks in. So after missing his first one, making his second, he decided to call glass and banks it in to make it 20-0. So here early in the 3rd quarter, the Generals make it a 3-score game.
Yeah, that's exactly what we talk about the adjustments. Special teams been playing great all game. They've become real close to a few blocks in the first half of that game. So again, you had 4 WNL players in that backfield. 2 of them were untouched. So I expected, as soon as that play unfolded, I expected to see that block on that last play.
Well, now this next offensive possession is crucial. They need to get points on the board. The offense was moving, but then a miscue on a 3rd and 1 deep in your territory forces you into a punt situation after you had completed 2 passes in a row.
Yeah, I guess this is crucial against a WNL team. So once they smell blood and once they start rolling with the game, they have a tendency to run away with it. So they need to manufacture 6 points in this next drive.
So Jarrett Wright will tee the ball up at the Washington and Lee 35-yard line. Back deep is William Phillips to return for the Tigers. Wright will kick it to the right side of the return towards Mays, and this one goes out of bounds. So a miscue on special teams after a great play just 2 plays ago.
Yeah, unfortunately, as the case of the commentators, Gene on the last play, but they're complimenting how well the special teams unit's been playing. Again, we can't afford that, especially spotting them great field position for this next drive, a crucial drive for the Tigers.
So the Tigers offense will come out to the 35-yard line after the kick out of bounds by Jarrett Wright. So 14:08 to play in the 3rd quarter. It's Washington and Lee 20, Suwannee 0. Thanks for joining us on 91.5 FM, WLUR Lexington, and online today, WLUR All Access, powered by First Team Broadcasting. We tried to get the Facebook broadcast going too, but some technical difficulties earlier prevented us from doing so. So we'll try that in the future. We did it in week 1 effectively. So stay tuned for that. Glad you can join us in whatever medium you're listening to us on. And, of course, Suwannee with their video broadcast today as well. So maybe you're over there, so watch the video there. Turn us up, though, on your radio dial. So the Tigers come out for their second possession of the second half. 4 wide receiver set as the junior quarterback looks to the left side, has a man open in the flat. He was looking for Micah Mays, and Mays with the drop. In coverage that time for Washington and Lee was Chris Elliott, but Mays heard footsteps and did not hold onto the football as he went to make his cut.
Yeah, Mays is right there wide open. Again, Elliott made a great break to the other side of the field. That would have been an excellent tackle for a loss. So, again, great play by the sophomore.
3 receivers to the left side of the offensive formation as the junior quarterback looks that way. He has his man open. It's McCullough. And McCullough with a reception and a first down for the Tigers. Expect that Suwannee will move quick and look to throw the football, now down by 20. 2 receivers to the left side of the formation. Handoff is to Holland. Holland will run up the middle. He'll gain 3 yards on the carry. On the stop that time for Washington and Lee was number 56, Kurt Weibel.
Yeah, I think 54 from the Tigers is down right now.
Yeah, there is a Tiger down, as Wayne was saying. And so with the break in the action, we'll remind you that Washington and Lee athletic coverage comes your way all year long at generalsports.com. You can check out the radio and video broadcast schedule at generalsports.com or by going to wlu.edu/WLUR. Of course, the school year getting underway. A great selection of music programs on WLUR as well. Also some good talk shows, sports talk shows, hopefully. Check out the weekly schedule at wlu.edu/WLUR. As we pause for the injury timeout, the down Tiger having his knee examined, hopefully nothing too serious. We'll take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard as hopefully some of the 3:30 games have just kicked off. Probably not much movement there, but we'll give you what information we have in just a few moments. And it is Warren Holland that is down, the junior running back who had such an impressive game in week 1. 102 yards last week, averaged 5.1 yards per carry, and had a receiving and rushing touchdown for the Tigers.
Yeah, that's a big blow to the Tigers' offense because going into the half, he was averaging 4.4 yards per carry, producing 44 total yards of offense. So, again, that's a big loss for the Tigers.
Well, he's being helped off the field, and we'll head to the bench. We'll update you as we get information on his status. For now, the Tigers' offense retakes the field, 2 receivers to either side of the formation. Screen pass thrown behind the line of scrimmage to number 7, Micah Mays, and then Micah Mays, the double pass, throws it deep and has his man, Colin May for the touchdown on the double pass. It's Micah Mays, the junior wide receiver, airing it out.
Yeah, again, it's a lot of freshman play. We had the freshman Kyle Wood playing a defensive back. He was playing a defensive back, and unfortunately he got beaten that coverage. He bit down. He thought it was going to be a screen pass, and wide open Tiger receiver downfield.
So Suwannee on the board. 6 points on the double pass. A swing pass in the backfield to the right side, thrown deep down the field to Colin May for the score. Michael Jacobs on to attempt the extra point, and flags fly before the snap. It's going to be a false start on Suwannee. Looks like it was number 4, Karam Antoine, signaling to himself that he false started, and the official confirms that. And so that'll back up the extra point attempt. Colin May, a 48-yard touchdown reception from Micah Mays. A well-designed play by the coaching staff and head coach Travis Rundle.
That's exactly what the Tigers needed after that lapse on special teams. So, again, they keep them alive in this ball game. That's what they needed. But, unfortunately, I don't think too many of those trick plays are going to continue to work as we go into the game. So, I think going into that, especially to see the screen play, the bubble screen, they're going to continue to try to sniff that out and make sure they have a man deep.
The extra point off the foot of Michael Jacobs is good. We'll take a 30-second timeout with the score. Washington and Lee 20, Suwannee 7. Stay with us. You're listening to Generals Football on 91.5 FM, WLUR, Lexington.
Global warming is here. The effects may seem slight now,
but in a few decades, they could be massive. Heat waves, floods, and food shortages. What can we do? We can join together. Because when many unite as one,
we can achieve anything.
Together, we're powerful. Find out how we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution. Go to fightglobalwarming.com. Brought to you by Environmental Defense, the Robertson Foundation, and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Harris Stadium. And a pooch kit off the foot of Michael Jacobs. Hits at the 25, takes a hop, fielded on the hop by Washington and Lee's. It looks like it's number 8 for the Generals. There isn't a number 8, so maybe it's a different number. Number 11, Sam Neal. And he'll run it out of bounds. So a smart play to field it on a hop and run it across the 40. New jerseys for the Generals this year, and certain numbers seem to blend together, at least from up here in the press box. Nonetheless, a smart play on special teams as Jacobs and the Suwannee Tigers special teams tried to catch the Washington and Lee Generals sleeping with the pooch kick, but Washington and Lee not fooled today.
Yeah, Neal was able to switch fields. He actually beat on our side of the field and was able to get the key blocks and reverse it, and it's a great gain on the freshman quarterback.
Generals going left to right on their first offensive possession of the second half. Handoff is to Josh Brees, and the sophomore will run forward and fall on top of the pile after a gain of 3 yards.
We've been seeing a lot of versatile play from our quarterback, so even though 15 and 7 be on the field calling play, but we have a quarterback playing wide receiver, we got a quarterback fielding punts, so I think this is interesting.
The coaching staff at Washington and Lee recruiting athletes and trying to put athletes in the best position to make plays. 2nd down and 7 upcoming for the Generals. Ball on the far side hash. Offense's wide side is the right side. Owen comes in deep motion. Speed sweep to the short side. Owen with some fancy footwork to sneak through a crack just shy of the first down as he was jumping through the hole, tripped up and fell about a yard shy of the first down marker.
If he just was able to catch himself, again, that would have been a house call again. So, again, great footwork by the freshman.
Owen actually a sophomore, but his first year at the slot back position. Limited time last year as a wide receiver because he was injured in training camp a year ago. Richardson, the handoff to Josh Brees. Brees runs up the middle, spinning forward, dragging a couple of tacklers with him as he crosses the Suwannee 40 and is brought down at the Suwannee 38-yard line. A first down for the Generals after the tackle made that time by Suwannee's number 72, it looked like, up front. Could be 78. Not sure there. We'll get back to you in just a moment. 1st and 10 for the Generals nonetheless. Handoff is to Montgomery Owen running that left side speed sweep. He'll spin forward for a gain of about 2 yards. 2nd down and 7 upcoming. It was Warren Matthews 2 plays ago with the tackle. Pierce Johnson, that time the tackle for Suwannee on that first down carry. 11-12 to play in quarter number 3. It's Washington and Lee 20, Suwannee 7. Speed option to the right side as Richardson looks to keep it. He finds a seam, still on his feet across the 25, 20, 15, 10, tripping and falling inside the 5. And in fact, he'll be marked down exactly at the 5 as Drew Richardson found a hole but couldn't keep his footwork as he worked through that second level.
Again, that's exactly what we want to see from our offensive unit. This is a great drive they have going. Again, they've been busting big plays in this last drive, so you can Richardson just missed it. Unfortunately, shoestring tackle saved that touchdown.
So the offense getting into gear here with their first possession of the second half. Drew Richardson, the quarterback. Josh Brees, the option back directly behind him. 2 tight end set this time for the Generals. Handoff is to Josh Brees. He'll bounce it to the left side. Now cuts it back inside. Gets down to about the 1 yard line on the 4 yard carry by the sophomore. So ball spotted officially at the 2 as the clock reads 10:40 left in the third quarter. 2 tight end set once again for the Generals. Reed Ostrom is the tight end on the left side. Josh McDonald, the slot back on that left side. It's Montgomery Owen coming across the formation from the right slot back position. And Drew Richardson, the quarterback keeper, to the left side. And he's in for 6 more points for the Generals.
Yeah, that's an excellent drive by the offensive unit. That's exactly what we needed. They went up-tempo. They were able to execute in all plays. And the biggest thing, we didn't suffer from any penalties or any plays for a loss. So I think that was a great start going into the second half of this ball game.
So Drew Richardson with the 2 yard touchdown run puts Washington and Lee up 26-7. And here comes Jarrett Wright for the extra point attempt. Wright 2 of 3 on point after touchdowns today. One of those makes a bank shot. The snap a bit high, but Lachlan gets it down. The kick is up, and this one's good. So with 10:25 to play in the third quarter, it's Washington and Lee 27, Suwannee 7. We'll take a 30-second timeout and be back with the kickoff. You're listening to Generals Football on WLUR.
At the football game, Jim shows the telltale signs of being wasted. He starts flexing for the camera. He refers to his muscles as gunboats. He screams, "How's this for a halftime show?" Jim streaks the field.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many to drive. But what if you've had just one too many to drive? Never underestimate just a few. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Tennessee Generals football on WLUR. It's Washington and Lee on top of Suwannee by the score of 27-7 alongside in the air, then straight down. Not sure who recovered it yet. No signal from either side. Now the officials say it's Suwannee football, but that ball just popped straight up from him as he was cutting through a hole, but then must have fallen right back into his hands amongst the pile of General and Tiger special team players.
Yeah, it seems like the Tigers right now are going through a special teams nightmare in terms of the block punt. It has almost a costly fumble in positive territory for the Generals. So, again, great execution by our special teams unit. Again, making a tackle and creating an opportunity for fumble recovery.
Well, Suwannee's offense will come back out onto the field during their last offensive possession, a 4-play, 65-yard touchdown drive where Callan May caught a receiver-to-receiver pass to put Suwannee on the scoreboard. On 1st and 10, the handoff is to the tailback. It's Malik Santiago in the ball game, and he'll carry it forward for a gain of about 2. Stop, as well as Philip Davis for the Generals. First down.
Quick, easy throws and catch.
Santiago, he'll run up the middle. He's met by Will Corey at the line of scrimmage. No gain on the play. Good tackle by Claus, the senior tight end. Fred Benham on the stop for Washington. Brings up 3rd down and call it 5. Tigers quickly to the line of scrimmage. 3 eligible receivers to the left side of the formation. Santiago right next to Darris in the backfield. And now the Generals will call their first time out of the second half, as they did not like their defense called against that offensive formation.
I think there's some confusion in terms of personnel. We saw Dean Johnson and hobble off the field, so they weren't quite sure who can throw in a defensive back. So I think that's why they needed to call a timeout and go ahead and collect themselves for this next offensive series.
I really like the football. What perplexes me, Wayne, thoughts on is why not just do that consistently throughout the game rather than huddle up or slow down the field?
I think trying to do that the first, really getting the ball moving on that beginnings that have caused them to go and stop the up-tempo. Give W get the personal they want in there. So again, we're seeing that right now. They're moving the ball well again with the easy plays. Nice throw, nice catch. The receivers are making great plays on the outside of the ball.
3rd down and 4 upcoming for the Tigers. 3 eligible receivers to the left side of the formation. That's the offense's wide side. A wingback, a receiver that's in the slot but on the line of scrimmage. Now Trey Kloss will move to the right side of the formation. 2 receivers to either side. Pick play, and well read by the Generals and intercepted. It's intercepted by Alex Andros, the first-year linebacker, as he saw the pick play, an out route and a slant combo to the right side of the formation, and Andros, the inside linebacker, steps in and picks it off.
Yeah, he read that play perfectly. He sat in. He recognized the coverage that we were going with. He saw the receiver to the inside. He just stepped right in, hit him square in the numbers, and he had a great return. Almost pushed. He looked like he almost had a house call on that one. Luckily for a shoestring tackle.
Andros, the first-year player for the Generals, getting a lot more playing time this week. The young man from Fredericksburg, Virginia, Cortland High School. There's your call out today, Cortland. So it's 1st and 10 for the Generals. Ball at the 22-yard line. Colin Sherman in the backfield as the option back. He'll get the handoff from the quarterback, Trey Lachlan, and Sherman will chop his legs forward and pick up 3 yards.
I think we're going back to that last Tigers offensive series, and those are things we're talking about. So again, they went up-tempo, and then they make a key mistake once they start driving with the ball.
2nd down and 7 as the clock here in the third quarter goes under 8:05 to play in the quarter. It's Washington and Lee 27, Suwannee 7. Game 2 for both of these programs, a storied rivalry that began back in 1890. Of about 7 sets up 3rd down. Eflin moving so fast that he tripped over.
Yeah, also he wanted to do the pitch, but he made a good read by the quarter.
Set tight end and a slot back to the left side to the right side. This time it's Colin Sherman with the handoff up the middle. He'll have a first down inside the 10, so it will make it a 1st and goal for the Generals.
Again, we started off in this last offensive series with great field position going in, and I think the big thing we need to do here is go ahead and just capitalize on this next possession.
Josh McDonald is the slot back on the left side. Montgomery Owen, the slot back on the right side. Reed Ostrom, the tight end, on the left side. And split out wide is Kobe Kirkland, normally a quarterback, but he's at split end today. Handoff is to Colin Sherman. Sherman, the senior, will run up the middle, carrying a couple of defenders with him, crosses the 5, and is brought down at the 3-yard line.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we've seen a lot of Kobe Kirkland on the outside today, so I'm really interested to see what we're going to try, what the Generals are going to try to do with him for the rest of the game.
2nd down and goal upcoming. Ball spotted at the Suwannee 3-yard line. Offense's wide side is the left side. Head coach Garrett LaRose signaling in the play to his quarterback, sophomore Trey Lachlan. Lachlan from Henrico, Virginia, gets his team to the line of scrimmage with the Lachlan will run the speed option to the left side.
It looks like we got some laundry in the field and maybe some unsportsmanlike conduct at the end of that play right there. We'll see what the refs discuss this.
And it will be after the play. Unsportsmanlike conduct on Washington and Lee's number 79.
Play that's just unacceptable, especially in a game of field position where now it's very, very stupid.
Jarrett Wright on. The snap is down. The kick is no good. So Jarrett Wright struggling with the kicking today.
Continue to put some points on the board, and he'll be able to get an opportunity to redeem those missed kicks.
I think it's number 20. Is it in? A gain will come.
Looks like Darius just trying to get a good offensive rhythm going. Three good positives, especially that play on his feet just flicked it to Santiago.
Darius back to pass, looking lefty. And there's an injured General down on the field. It looks like it's Matt Dodson, the starting right side corner for Washington and Lee. Frankly, really the most experienced would be a big loss given suspended play.
Alex Darius, he's feeling himself in this drive. He's had three big positive plays. So again, this is a huge blow. If Matt Dodson has to go out of the experience we have in the DBs, we've seen Matt Dodson back in this game.
Well, Dodson trying to battle through whatever the injury may be. It looks like it's a lower extremity injury. Head trainer Josh Williamson out to attend to him. With 4:29 to play in the third quarter, it's Washington and Lee 33, Suwannee 7. Taking a look at the out-of-town scoreboard for you. Just underway in the first quarter, it's Georgia Carolina 0. Alabama leading Arkansas State by the score of 13-0 with 10 minutes to play in the first quarter. Ohio State in their first Big Ten contest on top of Rutgers by the score of 7-0, 9:36 to play in the first quarter in Columbus. Back to the action here in Tennessee. We've got a 4 wide receiver set, 2 to either side of the formation for the Tigers. The junior quarterback operating from the shotgun. Generals show blitz, and they bring it, and they'll get to Alex Darius on the stop for Washington and Lee. Number 53, Riley Bartlett with the sack. A loss of about 8 will bring up about a 2nd down and 18. Suwannee quickly to the line of scrimmage as the Generals go full defensive sub. No flag on the play as it looked like some of the Generals did not get off the field, but the officials give them the benefit of the doubt. The result of the play is a completed pass to Andrew Shower. Picks up, we'll call it 6, and it will make it a 3rd down.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier the mass substitution. Got away with one there. I think that was an easy offsides penalty that the Tigers could have capitalized on.
The officials now, the Tigers just outside of the red zone. Normally you get 5-10 yards downfield and make that pitch. This one he was 25 yards downfield. On the 1st down and 10, handoff is to Josh McDonald running the right side speed sweep, and the first-year player will pick up 9 on the carry, brings up a 2nd down and 1. McDonald from Inglewood, Colorado, Kent Denver High School, a young first-year player that the coaching staff is high on, got the start last week in week 1 and is in the starting lineup once again for Jimmy Johnson this week.
Yeah, it's great to see the youngster try to get some play time out here. He's making the last 2 plays. We see a lot of action from him. We didn't really quite see him the first half of the ball game, but I think it's good they're continuing to work him in the offensive plan, especially going into the second half.
And that's going to bring us to the end of the third quarter. At the end of the third quarter, it's Washington in lead 33, Suwannee 7. We'll take a timeout and be back with the fourth quarter. You're listening to Generals Football on 91.5 FM WLUR Lexington.
At the football game, Jim shows the telltale signs of being wasted. He starts flexing for the camera. He refers to his muscles as gunboats. He screams, "How's this for a halftime show?" Jim streaks the field.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many to drive. But what if you've had just one too many to drive? Never underestimate just a few. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
Global warming is here. The effects may seem slight now,
but in a few decades, they could be massive. Heat waves, floods, and food shortages. What can we do? We can join together. Because when many unite as one,
we can achieve anything.
Together, we're powerful. Find out how we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution. Go to fightglobalwarming.com. Brought to you by Environmental Defense, the Robertson Foundation, and the Ad Council.
We start the fourth quarter with the Generals still on offense and a 2nd down and 1. Handoff is to Josh Brees. He'll bounce it to the right side. He's across the 20, still on his feet as he's inside the 15 and push. Generals going right to left here in quarter 4. Suwannee left to right, and Washington and Lee on top of the University of the South Suwannee Tigers by the score of 33-7.
Yeah, we're talking about Josh Brees arriving in the second half. I think we've seen that, especially the last couple series. We've seen him get some touches on the ball, some great running, strong, smart decision making. So I think you said he's a slow starter. So I think the second half that he's a second half guy.
Drew Richards entered the fourth quarter for the Generals, and he'll keep it on this option to the right side. Richardson looking for the end zone, and he's in for his second touchdown of the ball game. Coming into the quarter, he had 95 yards. Now he crosses the 100-yard mark, has 104 yards on the day, and puts Washington and Lee up by lead 39-7 here in the fourth.
Yeah, as we're talking.
To his left is Darius. Darius gets a block from Santiago, and Darius will pick up the first down and get out of bounds across and down to the line for Washington and Lee at the safety position. So a very defensive secondaries today to Dean Johnson and Matt Dodd. Back to passes, Darius 10. He looks right, fires deep downfield, looking and attacking the young Generals secondary on the coverage that is not catchable.
Yeah, exactly what we want to see from Kyle Wood. He was in position, so even if the pass was on the numbers, he would. In
regulation, it's Washington and Lee 40, Suwannee 7. 3 receivers to the left side of the formation for the Tigers. Santiago also offset to the junior quarterback's left. Darius looks right instead and had his lone man, and this pass too high as well. Cyrus McCullough was in front of the General defender and in position to make a reception, but the pass too high, and it goes incomplete.
A lot of these errant throws we've been seeing from Darius is because, again, he's being rushed. Like, he's really throwing off his back foot, which, again, in turn, caused a high ball. So this is the result of him not having enough time and the General's defense being in the backfield in his face.
3rd and 10 upcoming. Darius from the shotgun. 3 receivers to the left. He'll look left. Now comes back over the middle. Has his man. It's Mays. Mays breaks a tackle, and Micah Mays is in for a Suwannee touchdown. A great route exploiting the hole in the Generals' defense, which has been the middle today, and it's Micah Mays putting 6 more points on the board.
Yeah, Travis Dover was there. He was in position, but just unfortunately, again, broken tackles, poor tackling by the Generals' defense, especially the secondary. There's a lot of inexperience there, but again, these are key tackles we're expecting, not even just the young guys, but everyone on defense to be making.
So Micah Mays has thrown a touchdown today, and now he has caught one. The score is 40-13, and the extra point attempt is about to occur. It's Jacobs, the kicker, and he'll put this one through. So with 12:54 to play in regulation, it's Washington and Lee 40, Suwannee 14. We'll keep it here with you at in the press box at Harris Stadium alongside Wayne Martindale. I'm Andy McEnroe. it's to a point now where both teams just want to execute, keep their players healthy, and get out of this one to play next week. If you're Washington and Lee, when's the appropriate time to put in maybe some of the second stringers here in this contest?
Well, right now, with 12:54 left in the ball game, I don't think there should be even a conversation right now. I mean, there's still plenty of time for this Tigers offense to get back, especially we saw from that last offensive series. They were able to move the ball quickly and efficiently downfield. So I think there's still signs of life from this offense, and I think there's still plenty of time for them to manufacture some points to give the Generals a run for the money.
Well, Micah Mays, a 26-yard touchdown pass from Alex Darris, capped off a 7-play, 53-yard drive that took 1 minute and 22 seconds off the clock. Now it's Jacobs with another pooch kick. Bobbled, ball's loose. It looks like it was the quarterback once again, Sam Neal, trying to receive it, and it's Neal who falls back on it after dropping the pooch kick. So Washington and Lee will maintain the football, although that could have been disastrous for the Generals, particularly given the pace that we just saw the Tigers score at.
I think that was 41 Alex Heap who fielded it. He just muffed that punt, but luckily number 11 was there to clean that up. So, again, heads-up play by the quarterback.
So the Generals offense will come back out onto the field. It's Trey Lachlan at the helm, joined in the backfield at the option back position by Colin Sherman. The slot backs are Josh McDonald and Montgomery Owen. McDonald on the left side comes in cross motion. They'll run the power option that direction. Lachlan looks to keep it. Very late pitch. No, instead he'll spin. He holds onto the football, faked me out for a moment, and will have near first down yardage for the Generals. Depends on the spot of the football, and now they'll spot him with a first down at the Washington and Lee 40.
Laughlin's done a great job, especially getting to the outside in those runs. You see him gouging the Tigers defense on the outside runs for most of the game, so I think they're going to try to continue with that play call.
1st and 10 for the Generals. Offense's wide side is the left side as the Generals go right to left here in quarter number 4. McDonald comes in deep motion from the left slot back position. Handoff is to Sherman. Sherman will go up the middle, and he's met by Swanee's number 4, Kareem Antone, as well as number 6, Lee Menifee, the senior linebacker. So a gain of 3 brings up 2nd down and 7 for the blue and white. Under 11:50 to play in regulation. It's Washington and Lee 40, Swanee 14. 2nd and 8 officially, as Lachlan keeps his eyes on the play clock, trying to maximize the amount of time the game clock ticks down. Speed option to the left side. Lachlan with the pitch to Sherman. Sherman gets across the 45, brought down at the Washington and Lee 46.
That was a bit of a dangerous pitch right there. That was real close. A little low for Sherman to pick up. A great play by Sherman to be able to bring that ball in and get some positive yards on that play.
3rd and 4. 11 minutes and running on the game clock as Lachlan takes the snap, hands to Sherman. Sherman will run up the middle and looks to be about 1 yard shy of the first down. And so it will bring up 4th down with the ball just at midfield. And I would suspect that Garrett LaRose is going to send the punting team out, although, you know, given the way his offense has performed today, there's an argument to be made to keep the offense out there.
Yeah, you're right. I think right now with the momentum building a 40-14 over the Tigers right now, personally I would have gone for it. But, hey, I'm not the head coach. But, again, very conservative play call with punting downfield. Again, put them in poor field position on their end of the ball field.
It's Bo Sheridan in to kick it away. Back deep is William Phillips. Sheridan will get a high spiraling kick that he angles to Phillips's right. Sheridan's left. Phillips makes the first general miss, now working down the near sideline, and he's tackled from behind by Washington and Lee. Special teams player on the coverage, and it was number 22, Dean Johnson, so good to see him back out on the field and running around for Washington and Lee. And so Swanee will start at its own 25-yard line. A 17-yard return by William Phillips. And here comes the junior quarterback and the Swanee Tiger offense. 3 receivers to the left side of the offensive formation. Single split end on the backside. Santiago is the lone tailback in the backfield alongside Darris. Play action as Darris will be flushed to his right. Under duress, he throws it up, and it goes out of bounds as Andrew Frailer applied the initial pressure, and then coming off the end to really clean it up was Kurt Weibel for the Generals.
Yeah, you noticed a key, interesting substitution. It looks like we have number 11, Sam Neal, playing defensive back right now.
It does appear that way. As we mentioned earlier, the Generals like having athletes, and they'll ask their athletes to do a lot of different things. Darris back to pass, looks for the right side seam, has it open, and it's complete.
Number 99, Trey Claus with the reception.
Complete to Trey Claus, upended by Carter Govin, another first-year player in the defensive backfield. So right now, it looks like the Generals' defensive backfield, all first-year players. As Darris will drop back to pass. He's under pressure, flush to his left, will throw to his left now, and it's complete. He has his man, it's Callan May. He'll be short of the sticks by about 3 yards. Tackled on the play by Sam Neal, the first year. Second down and 3 upcoming, ball at midfield. Play action pass once again. Darris under pressure now as he was being tackled, flips it out to Santiago. A great play by the junior, and Santiago will pick up the first down by scampering for about 5.
Yeah, it looks like Darris is taking some plays out of the old Gators Tim Tebow playbook with the flick pass. We've seen a lot of success with two big plays, key conversions on that same exact play of this half of the ball game.
Under 9 minutes to play in regulation. It's Washington and Lee 40, Swanee 14, and the Tigers are on the march. Ball in Washington and Lee territory as Darris steps up into the pocket on this first down and 10 and throws complete to his tight end. Sam Hearn, the junior, gets inside the Generals 40 down to the Washington and Lee 38-yard line. 3 receivers to the left side of the formation, a lone split end on the second down and 4. Handoff is to Santiago, and the first-year player has a Swanee Tiger first down.
Darris and the Tigers right now, they're manufacturing a great drive right now. A bunch of positive plays. They're moving the ball efficiently downfield. Looks like they're going to hurry up. Again, they're going to try to expose this inexperienced backfield for the Generals.
The Generals have put in their second-string defense at this point, as Logan Brand in the game at linebacker, as well as Adam Harder, the first year, playing an outside linebacker, and Alex Andros, who had the interception earlier at the inside linebacker position. False start penalty called on Swanee. Now the Generals will sub in another defensive line. Some starters remain for the blue and white, but in the linebacking core and secondary, mostly second string at this point. First and 15, ball at the Washington and Lee 38-yard line. Clock continues to run as we go under 8 minutes in regulation. Darris from the shotgun. He looks left. He's under pressure. He throws left, and it's going to be picked off by Washington and Lee. Sam Neal with the interception, and he's running across the 20 and brought down at the 25-yard line.
Looks like Sam Neal can do it all. So he's like this Swiss Generals, versatile player right there. Got a kick returner, do it all.
If the Generals' offense goes to any second-string players, as the defense has, at this point, 7:46 to play in the contest. The Generals on top, 40-14.
Looks like the Tigers, they really need that drive to work out in terms of continue to make this an interesting ball game, in terms of giving them a chance to come close to the lead that the Generals have right now. So, unfortunately, Darris has not been able to do it when they need him to in terms of getting onto their side of the 50 on offense. So, again, I'm really interested to see if they're going to continue to go Darris for the rest of the game, or if they're going to try to explore some other options for their offense.
Well, and for Alex Darris, a tough game today. 3 interceptions against this Generals defense that we know is experienced, more so last week than this week, obviously with certain players being out due to suspension. But the Generals defense throwing a pretty good game here, only allowing 14 points to a Tigers team that put up 43 points a year ago.
Well, looks like we got a flag on the play. A dead ball penalty.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on the Washington League coach for being in the middle of the field for a timeout. Half the distance to go.
So Garrett LaRose flagged for an unsportsmanlike penalty for being in the middle of the field, half the distance to the goal. from that initial 25-yard spot, but there must have been one penalty before that, as Washington and Lee now finds themselves inside their own 10. Officially, we'll say at the 7? Looks like it's at the 7. Drew Richardson in at quarterback. Josh Brees the option back. Handoff is to Josh Brees. He'll run up the middle. Still fighting for extra yards here, and he'll pick up about 2 on the carry. If I'm head coach Garrett LaRose, at some point I'm taking Josh Brees out of this ballgame.
Yeah, absolutely. With the lead you have right now, especially 7 minutes, and we've seen some of the Tigers' drives that have not been able to come to fruition with their second-string guys in. So I think I'll be a little more comfortable at this point in the game to pull those guys and get our young guys some more reps in a game time situation.
Richardson, the quarterback. He'll run the speed option to the right side. He'll keep it himself and is upended as he crosses the 10 out to about the 14-yard line. Needs to get to the 17 for a first down, so it will bring up 3rd down and 3. Under 7 minutes to play in regulation. Score remains Washington and Lee 40, Suwannee 14. Richardson has his eyes on the play clock as he's maximizing the time it ticks down. Now he looks to head coach Garrett LaRose for the check at the line. He'll take the snap. Straight dive as the handoff goes to Josh Brees, and it looks like Brees will have enough for a Washington and Lee first down as they spot him at the Generals' 18-yard line.
I think at this point in the game, it's going to be a lot of dive up the gut to continue to try to manage the play clock to try to ride this thing out. Also minimize key injuries to the offensive key players. But I'm interested to see if Richardson's still going to try to stay in this game for the rest of this drive.
Well, Richardson, Brees, it looks like the entire starting offense still out there for the Generals. Option keeper for Richardson to the left side. He'll lower his shoulder, takes a hit, and is stood up after a gain of about 3. That's the challenge with an option offense. Your quarterback, your running backs, they take a lot of hits. And in a game like this, at some point, if you're head coach Garrett LaRose and offensive coordinator Bobby Jones, you've got to think about getting some of the younger guys some experience here on offense. One, it may help you down the road, particularly in conference play, but also, to your point, Wayne, of preventing unnecessary injuries.
Yeah, team rules, but again, moving into the next game, we don't want to see any of the key offensive experience gone.
2nd down and 7 for the Generals. Speed sweep to the left side as the handoff goes to Montgomery Owen. He'll get across the 25, brought down at the Washington and Lee 26, about 2 yards shy of another General first down. So it will bring up 3rd down. Next week, Washington and Lee has its home opener as they take on Maryville. It's Young Alumni Weekend in Lexington. Video and audio coverage of that one for you. The audio, of course, on WLUR. Join me and Neil Schaefer for the call of that one at 1 p.m. Generals game day gets it kicked off at 12. Handoff is to Josh Brees. He'll run up the middle. He's got the first down and more as he's pushing the pile forward across the 35 and out to the 38-yard line. The Generals' conference schedule gets underway on September 29th. As after their 3 non-conference games, the Generals do have a bye week in the schedule. And on the 29th, the Generals take on Randolph-Macon, who was picked number 2, essentially tied with the Generals for the top spot in the ODAC preseason poll. So that's a game to circle on the calendar. Jeremy Franklin will have the play-by-play of that one for you. 1st and 10, the handoff goes to Josh Brees. And Brees will spin forward for a gain of 2. Out-of-town scoreboard for those fans listening to our game but interested in Division I football. It's Georgia 17, South Carolina 7 as they tick towards the end of the first quarter. Ohio State up big on Rutgers by the score of 21-0. Notre Dame leading Ball State at the beginning of the second quarter by a score of 7-3. Richardson running the speed option to the right side. He'll keep it as he crosses the 45, across the 50, now into Suwannee territory and dragged down across the 40. And no, in fact, they'll spot him at the 40, so that's another Washington and Lee first down as the Generals continue to run the football and continue to run the clock.
Yeah, it was a great play by Richardson. But again, those tackles at the end of the play, they grabbed him by his jersey. Looked like he fell awkwardly. And obviously, he's healthy and just popped right up. But those are the kind of plays that scare me, especially late in the game right now with a 40-14 lead on the Tigers.
The far sideline starting to get some of the young guys together to do a large substitution, and now it looks like Garrett LaRoe with 3:30 from the fourth quarter. It's Washington and Lee 40, Suwannee 14. Stay with us for the conclusion of this one. You're listening to Generals Football on WLUR.
Global warming is here.
The fall off to a new option back who breaks for
-1.
We can achieve anything.
Together, we're powerful. Find out how we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution.
And welcome back. A squib kick off the foot of Jared Wright, fielded by one of the upbacks for Suwannee. It's number 47, Daniel Armar. And Armar brings it out to about the 36-yard line. And that's where Suwannee will go to work here for the final 3:20 in this contest. So, Wayne, if you're the coaching staff now for Suwannee, what are you looking to accomplish?
Right now, just end the game with some high notes in terms of production on offense. Obviously, they pulled Darius out of the game for their second-string quarterback. But, again, just positive things, good takeaways moving into next week. Obviously, looks like their first-team units, everyone's out of the game. So just some things to build on, take into this week's practice, and move in as they execute for the next week's opponent.
Grayson Baker in the ball game at quarterback, the first year, 6'5", 185 pounds for the Tigers. Joining him is the first-year Malik Santiago in the backfield. And it'll be Santiago for the second straight carry. He picked up 6 on the first carry. This one he'll pick up, we'll call it about 10 as he picks up a Suwannee Tiger first down. Now for the Generals defense, it's all about getting experience. You have young guys across the board. Same for the Suwannee Tigers as they look to continue to build. It's Santiago carrying the football. In fact, these two programs, a long history, as we mentioned earlier, with Suwannee and WNL playing football against each other back in the 1892 season. And in fact, throughout times in history, they've resembled one another. And former assistant coaches from WNL have ended up as the head coach of Suwannee, and I'm sure Suwannee coaches have ended up at WNL. These are two preeminent schools in the South. And now if you're Suwannee, your objective is to be like WNL, who finds themselves year in and year out competing for an ODAC championship and a spot in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, obviously having almost two schools that mirror one another, I think it comes down to recruiting and how they can compete in the recruiting trail. Obviously, two schools are a little more regional, especially here in Suwannee, in terms of the market that players are trying to get. But again, I think it's interesting to see how these teams have performed in the history of the matchup.
On the first down and 10 play from the Generals 35, it's handed off to number 38, Zach Keller. And Keller will pick up, we'll call it 9 yards, just shy of a Suwannee Tiger first down. 2nd and 1 upcoming for the Tigers. Handoff is to Keller once again. This time run straight up the gut, and he'll have enough for a Suwannee Tiger first down. On the tackle for Washington and Lee, as we're under a minute to play in this contest. Look to get one more score before the end of this one. Marr, the senior tight end. And he'll have a first down inside the 10, so it's 1st and goal for the Tigers. Handoff is to Keller, and Keller running towards the pylon on the 1st and goal play, and he'll be just short. Clock continues to run, and now the Tigers will hurry to the line of scrimmage with 15 seconds on the game clock.
I really wish Keller would have kept that run there. He kind of cut back and tried to make a move, but I think if he just kept his shoulder down, he might have been able to punch that in.
Handoff is to Keller, and the Generals defense is going to stop him, and that's going to be the contest. So stopped on the last play by Corson Purnell for the Generals, as well as number 98, Matt Tinsley, the first-year defensive lineman. And that concludes the contest here today from Suwannee, Tennessee. Your final score, Washington and Lee 47, Suwannee 14. We'll take a 2-minute timeout and come back to wrap this one up. You're listening to Generals Football on WLUR.
I couldn't even imagine myself without a cigarette. I was like up to 2 packs a day.
1-800-QUIT now.
I just decided to call and see what it was about and see how they could help. They're there for you. I got stressed out and I picked up a cigarette, so I called the counselor and they told me that, it happens. Sometimes it takes a few tries. Nobody's perfect. Even if you quit, they're still there if you need them. If you're really serious about quitting, call.
Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW, a public service of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and this station.
Global warming is here. The effects may seem slight now,
but in a few decades, they could be massive. Heat waves, floods, and food shortages. What can we do? We can join together. Because when many unite as one,
we can achieve anything.
Together, we're powerful. Find out how we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution. Go to fightglobalwarming.com. Brought to you by Environmental Defense, the Robertson Foundation, and the Ad Council.
At the football game, Jim shows the telltale signs of being wasted. He starts flexing for the camera. He refers to his muscles as gunboats. He screams, "How's this for a halftime show?" Jim streaks the field.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many to drive. But what if you've had just one too many to drive? Never underestimate just a few. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
And welcome back one final time to Suwanee, Tennessee, the site of Game 2 for the Generals, where Washington and Lee was victorious by the score of 47-14. Alongside Wayne Martindale, I am Andy McEnroe. The Generals racked up 402 rushing yards and an additional 99 passing yards for a total of 501 yards on 65 plays en route to the victory. Additionally, Washington and Lee converted 7 of 12 third-down conversions, controlled the football for 31 minutes and 33 seconds of the contest, and forced 3 turnovers, all of them interceptions in the contest. More so, the Generals were a perfect 4 of 4 on red zone scoring chances, and Wayne, when you do those things, often they lead to victory, as they did today for the blue and white.
Yeah, absolutely. The magic number going into this game was 400 in terms of offense, so we far exceeded that with 501. But the big takeaway was that Suwanee had 388 yards of offense, but unfortunately you see just the opposite where the Generals were 4 for 4. They were 0 for 2 in the red zone. So I think that it wasn't the fact that the defense played well, the bend don't break mentality that we used. Suwanee still be able to move the ball, but again, they just weren't able to punch it in, which helped lead to success of the Generals.
Drew Richardson was the leading rusher for the Generals today. 17 carries, 133 yards, and 2 quarterbacks to play for Washington and Lee. Trey Lachlan, the other quarterback, 8 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown. Lachlan was also 2 of 2 passing for 99 yards and a touchdown. So for Washington and Lee and head coach Garrett LaRose and offensive coordinator Bobby Jones, the ability to have multiple options. We just talked about just the quarterbacks. The option backs in Josh Brees and Colin Sherman contributed 69 yards and 57 yards respectively. There are a lot of aspects that as an opposing defense you have to defend, and in any given day one player can have a bigger game than another, and the result today was the quarterback play was good because I think the defense tried to focus on the option backs.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of when the quarterback play as well, especially with the option offense that the Generals have. So it alleviates a lot of stress and pressure from the slot backs and halfbacks in terms of them performing. So again, it makes it hard for the opposing team to key in on a specific player because the Generals have more than one guy that can do it. Where most teams they have that that running back, that slot back, or that quarterback, but they don't have anyone else in the depth. So I think it shows the versatility of the Generals in terms of what they have in the depth and who they're able to work in the field at any given time.
For Suwanee, they did tally up 490 total offensive yards on 86 plays. But unfortunately, 3 interceptions for their starting quarterback, Alex Darris, who was 31 of 51 with 3 interceptions, just 1 touchdown, did throw for 325 yards. A lot of pressure put on that young man's shoulder today to perform, and the Generals' defense was up to the task of stopping him and forcing turnovers. Suwanee also suffered a big loss during the course of the ballgame. Warren Holland was the leading rusher for the Tigers, 12 carries for 52 yards, but he exited the game early in the second half, did not return. Malik Santiago picked up more of the carries from that point forward, 7 carries for 36 yards. Zach Keller saw some action late, 5 carries for 19 yards. Darris's favorite target today was McCullough, 6 catches, 82 yards. Alan Puri with 5 catches for 63 yards. Colin May, 4 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown. And Micah Mays, 4 catches for 41 yards and a touchdown. Mays also threw a touchdown pass on the wide receiver double pass situation. Defensively for the Generals, Dean Johnson led the way with 9 tackles. Sam Neal, 8 tackles. Will Corey, 8 tackles. Matt Dodson with 7 tackles as well. A lot to talk about in this one, but give me your final thoughts, Wayne, in terms of how this win may help the Generals as they go to their last non-conference game next week.
Well, I think going into the game, obviously, due to the suspensions of seeing this, of some of the seniority here on this team, we had to see a lot of young guys play, and I think that's the biggest takeaway, knowing that they had the depth and able to execute, especially with Dean Johnson. He played a great game, and unfortunately, we didn't really see him the second half due to an undisclosed injury, but I think the freshman play or the inexperience prior to this game really shows that there's a big, bright future for the Generals, especially on both sides of the ball. So again, they're able to carry the brunt of that weight and make everything work on all 3 sides of the ball. So again, the big takeaway is just everyone just filling the void when it's the next man up.
This broadcast of Generals Athletics has been brought to you in part by the Washington and Lee University Store. Celebrate your favorite Generals team with a sports tee, decal, or hat. If you can think of it, we probably have it. The store is open 7 days a week and is owned and operated by W&L. All proceeds go back to the Washington and Lee community, helping to fund athletic, alumni, and student programs. Order online anytime at store.wlu.edu, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for exclusive online promotions. Go Generals! It's now time for the Washington and Lee University Store Player of the Game. Wayne, who are you picking for that prestigious award?
To be honest with you, I think Trey Laughlin, he got it going the first part of the game, got the offense moving when we couldn't quite do it, and put him in the second half. So I liked his play the entire game.
So Trey Laughlin is Wayne's selection. I think I'm going with both quarterbacks. Drew Richardson, Trey Laughlin, they are the engine of this offense, and they made good decisions today. They protected the football and made big plays when they needed them. Laughlin early in the game, as Wayne pointed out, and Drew Richardson really milked the clock in the second half, which is equally as important when you're in a contest like this. Well, special thanks today to Adit Ahmed back in the WLUR studio for spinning the dials and sending us out across the miles. Washington and Lee returns to action next week as they take on Maryville in Lexington. Video and audio live coverage coming your way at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Generals Game Day gets it kicked off on WLUR at 12 noon. Swanee returns to action next week as well as they host Austin, 1 p.m. Central Time. Kickoff for that contest. For Wayne Martindale, I am Andy McEnroe. One last time, your final score from Swanee, Tennessee. Washington and Lee 47, Swanee 14. We hope you have an enjoyable rest of your weekend.